Rolling.
So we're ready to go? Okay. I don't like when you go nonverbal like that. It freaks me out. All right. Hey up, East Siders, and welcome back to another episode of the Lonely Boys podcast. My name is Matt. I'm one of your titular Lonely Boys, and I'm here to break down Season 5, Episode 10 of Gossip Girl, Riding in Town Cars with Boys. That's right, it is the mid-season finale of Season 5, but I'm not here by myself. Now that we're doing video here, I can clearly see that my co-host is wearing nothing but chocolate on a pillbox hat. It's Brendan Ruffle.
Hello, I'm your co-host, of course, of the Creepy Uncle podcasting, aka Uncle Cream. Hi, Diddle Hood Cream Nation, recording live as host from the crematorium. I'm your editor-in-chief here at Cream Weekly, Dr. Officer Cream reporting for duty. Cream, yes, Cream. Also, optional. You can take the optional ACAB. All creams are bastard. I'll leave it up to the guest, maybe, or if they're returning guests, if they know the shtick, they could opt in for ACAB, opt in for Cream, yes, Cream.
Well, hold on. I was thinking maybe if you're gonna include that all creams are bastard in your little thing. I don't know what to call it. Maybe, yeah, in your intro. That's what it is. Maybe you should say it before. Maybe you should do something like or just remember all creams are bastard, but Dr. Officer Cream reporting for duty, because you kind of want to end it with Cream, yes, Cream.
Right. That really is like the good period on the.
That's
intro,
right. That's what everyone gets jazzed up for. That's when everyone.
I don't know how many people are driving and like take their hands off the wheel for a cream, yes, cream.
Do a two-handed
salute.
You can leave one hand.
No way.
Brendan, would you believe that it's not just the two of us today?
I could believe it.
Well, listen. Last time this guest came on, I believe it was also for a mid-season finale that ends in a car crash. So we are
That's
here.
Nuts.
I don't know how that. I don't know how this happened. Maybe these are her favorite episodes. She just needs to come on for them. But we are here with our mid-season finale car crash expert. That's right. It's, I believe, the 19th member of the Lonely Boys Two Timers Club. It's Sarah Gahr. Sarah, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey.
Ooh, hello, welcome, thanks.
Sarah Gahr
Crash.
Crash.
That's what I meant. I don't welcome you. Yeah, pretty much. I'm Sarah Gahr Crash. I epitomize myself is the epitome of a car crash, and that is why you have me.
And Beebop.
Producer Beebop is back, of course. Their very long winter break is over. Producer Beebop finally back on the ones and twos, making sure that we keep the podcast moving so that everyone's happy with the runtime.
Yeah, Beebop heard that we were doing video now. He's like, I need to step back in. This is not going well.
I gotta get.
Yeah.
You guys need
help. Ears must be present. That's the ears.
Well, we are, of course, happy to have producer Beebop back, and happy to have you back, Sarah, as our mid-season finale car crash expert, of course. Have you been watching much Gossip Girl since the last time you were on the podcast?
I keep it. It's one of those, like, whenever you're stuck, you just need something on rotation. It's Gossip Girl, and apparently now, since I'm Sarah Gahr Crash, thank you. It's a better nickname than I got in high school, so I'll take that.
Are you going to reveal or leave it at that?
No, I used to get called Sarah Garball because my dad created a game. He was a health phys ed teacher. Created a game, Garball, and everyone in the hallways would go, Garball. I'd be like, that's really nice, thank you.
How does one play Garball? What's the sport? I assume it involves a ball.
You have to take class with Mr. Gahr.
All right. I was planning on doing a building medicine sooner or later, so I'll have to find out where your school is.
I was guessing that it was going to be Sarah Garbage. That was my first guess.
Isn't that clever? So I'm glad it wasn't that.
I was too quiet for that.
Yeah.
At the time.
Garball.
I was like fresh out of 12 years of Catholic school. No, sorry, 8 years of Catholic school to then go to public school. And I was terrified.
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah. My sister did that too. She went to Catholic school up until like maybe 9th or 10th grade, and she would drink vodka out of a water bottle on the bus stop. So she handled it really well.
You're so much cooler than me.
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing some of the middle to that story.
She might have been doing it in Catholic school also, and it was just like a trend she wanted to bring to
vodka in a water bottle.
You know what? Each school is terrifying in its own right.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know. Well, I guess we could do our favorite segment. Did anything weird happen to you since the last time we podcasted? Brendan, has anything weird happened to you since the last time we podcasted?
No, we only do the segment, I think, when you have something
Right,
teed
when
up
something
already.
came to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do mine. I went to the movies today, and there was an older couple in front of me, getting their movie snacks, and I can't remember if the woman was looking at me or if I noticed the woman first, but we locked eyes, and I was like, is this my kindergarten teacher? My I'm not in kindergarten. My former kindergarten teacher. I have graduated kindergarten. And then she looked at me and she said,
Apparently.
"I know you." And I said, "Oh, you do?" And she said, "Yes." And then she waited a second and she said, "Matthew, right?" So this woman, who I think was my kindergarten teacher, remembered me. I don't know what is it, 20 something years later.
That is nuts.
That's it.
23 years
Why,
later.
never
how's that
forget.
possible?
You just never
Listen.
forget.
Maybe I just look the same as I did in kindergarten.
I have said that about you, that you of all people that I know look
You've
the
said this?
most similar to their like child self.
You
Still,
have not said
I
this.
think
I've
it's,
said this.
I think it's the overalls and Barney T-shirt that kind of give me the impression.
Right.
I do still carry around my my Pokemon lunchbox that I had in kindergarten. So that probably was
Yeah.
that tipped her off a little bit, I'm sure.
And I was with you with my Hot Wheels suitcase, and she didn't notice me.
Yeah,
It's kind of weird.
Rolling
we were both
backpack.
wearing
Yeah.
we were both wearing our Digimon light up sneakers
Hell yeah.
still. So that really. We were still arguing about how you never RSVP'd to my birthday party, and then you showed up anyway.
Check that off your bingo boards. I'm sure that comes up once a season.
And I will make sure of it.
RSVPing is very important.
I know. Well, tell
It
my
is.
mother. Don't tell
Thank
me.
you.
I was a first grader.
Thank you.
RSVPing is very important, and I'm here to bring the tension.
Thank you very much. As promised. Sarah, has anything weird happened to you since the last time you podcasted? Feel free to say no.
Absolutely, I'm sure there is something. My appendix removed. That was fun.
Oh.
Whoa, that is weird.
Did you know it was
Yeah,
going to
just a
happen though,
big
or is it
old-
just popped out?
No. I was convinced. I was like, it's fine. I'm going to walk to the
Oh,
hospital and it'll be fine. So I walked there, which is like 10 blocks from my apartment. And they're like, you have the most quintessential textbook case of appendicitis. And I said,
Nice.
get her out.
Get her out.
You know what?
Get her out,
And you know
baby.
what? They did it in a day and I was home.
There you go.
All right. Was
Safe.
Did you
It's
get
in a
like
jar
a
right
lollipop
over here.
afterwards?
Oh, we're going to see it.
Right over
Now you
here.
really got to
Appendix?
check out the YouTube for this appendix in a jar.
For all you appendix freaks out there, make sure you watch the YouTube video.
That's right.
It looks very
It's
similar
not
to
my
a
only
member of the
appendix
podcast.
fans. Who's you? He doesn't. He said, "Sorry, move on from the story. It's too embarrassing."
Okay.
I have my appendix. He was sniffing over here.
Well, I mean, I guess now's as good a time as any to get into the episode. Brendan, it's your time to shine. The episode title is "Riding in Town Cars with Boys." Do you have any idea what that could be referencing?
No, it sounds like a really stupid title for a movie, though. But I'm gonna guess it's riding in town cars with girls. It's the only thing I could really think of.
Okay, I like where you're at.
Here we
and
go.
This was of course.
I was just telling you
Obviously.
off pod beforehand that you'd be a terrible pediatrician because the way you deliver news is so awful.
Well, Brendan, I am. I won't reveal if I'm pleased or displeased to say that it is referencing the 2001 Drew Barrymore film, "Riding in Cars with Boys," not town cars. They added a town. That's all they did. So
That's the
Brendan,
Upper East Side, the town car.
town car.
You gotta add the town car. So you've been on a bit of a slide, Brendan.
Yeah.
You've missed at least 3 in a row now. I don't know if it dates back further than that, but you are now 4 for 10. Still plenty of episodes to go. Don't worry.
Yeah, I feel
Rooting
like
for
I'm
you.
in a pretty big slump here. But yeah, it is embarrassing.
We're rooting for. Yeah, I mean, I'm embarrassed. I am looking for a new co-host just in
Yeah.
case this doesn't.
I feel like I'm
turn it around.
sinking deeper than I ever have here. I've never felt worse
Yeah.
in my life.
No, you started off last season really poorly, and
I
then
know-
you really
yeah,
came on strong second
That
half.
is true, but I just like the way I'm missing it. It's sometimes like when you're hitting a baseball and like you feel like I mean that was good contact, but it just found an
Yeah.
outfielder. Right now, I feel like I'm missing the ball by like a foot. Like I'm switching up
You
the
need-
wrong part
maybe-
of the title. I'm
Maybe
I'm way
T-ball.
off. T-ball.
Yeah, maybe T-ball. Maybe try a bunt next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't know how that
that
metaphor
translates to
works
this.
yeah, exactly. Original air date December 5th, 2011. I mentioned this was the mid-season finale, and so plenty of drama to.
Can I
to
just
end this
quickly make
one, and-
a joke?
Yeah. Oh,
This
yeah, sure,
mid-season
please.
finale was not so mid.
Wow.
That's
And
for
saying
all you
something.
Gen Z kids out there.
And we have a lot
That
of them listening,
sure
of
was
course.
a joke.
That sure is a joke.
Survey says joke.
Or
That is
play on
it's official.
words.
And you can tell from the raucous laughter in the crowd that was certainly a joke.
Everyone in the car is
Oh my God, sorry, I
doing
gotta calm
another
down.
double hand
I gotta
salute.
calm down.
I mean, you can't see Bebop because Bebop's in his silent era, but he is yucking it up with there. He
For
can't stop
long-time
laughing.
listeners of this podcast are probably amazed with the volume of the dog right now.
Yeah, I mean they know Bebop as our not so
ruckus
silent
bringer,
producer,
yeah.
but yeah, exactly.
It's because
So
he's in his cozy sweater, blanket, pillow fort on my lap, so he is.
This is true character growth within the pod.
It really is.
That's
someone
the development.
update-
That's the weird
someone-
thing that happened to me.
Someone update
Bebop,
Bebop's
calm down.
wiki. Bebop's Lonely Boys wiki. So, we start with the Gossip Girl voiceover. She still hasn't gotten any tips in 2 weeks, even though she has fixed the security breach, which does seem realistic. I think 2 weeks going by, I think people would still be hesitant to send stuff in, thinking that they might not be anonymous. And we see Ivy cutting up her old driver's license, so I guess she's getting rid of any evidence of her old life now that Max is on the prowl.
Yeah. And Olivia Rodrigo is just head is in her hands right now, just so disappointed with her cutting up her driver's license.
Right, yeah.
She
watching
loves
this
them.
episode.
That's
She's
why she wrote the
got
song
ideas
about
for a
it.
song. Yeah.
She's obsessed
Yeah,
with
she
the
loves
little
her
cards.
driver's
Yeah.
licenses. Serena is giving a toast to Charlie here at breakfast. Charlie is showing that it's never too late to be a debutante. And also Serena's toasting Mom, who couldn't refuse one last ball. So we don't do a full cotillion again. We just mention like a debutante and the fact that she's
What does she mean by one last ball? Is she is someone dying? Because you can have more balls.
You can, I guess, but I think
Just to have
we've
any
run out of
young
people.
daughters
I guess,
or
yeah.
nieces.
They've-
It's the last one.
Right, they've run out of people to debut. Like they're plucking people from out of town now to give cousins. Like it's a Josh Schwartz show, so we got to squeeze in as many debuts as possible. Brendan, I know you haven't been enjoying this season. I think Josh Schwartz may have felt that, and hopefully this debutante party, not ball, as Lily points out, was able to breathe some new life into the show.
I don't know if that was what did it. I mentioned
yeah.
before about how saying this wasn't mid. I say the debutante ball itself was mid. It was pretty lackluster, and they didn't really. They just kind of like had her, Lily, and Rufus on the stairs, and we're like, "Here she is," right? Like, isn't it usually
We have really not focusing too much at all.
No,
Yeah.
and there's like there's usually like a bunch of other girls, aren't there? Like doing their same thing and like showing themselves.
This wasn't a full. Yeah, this wasn't like a full cotillion. This was just like
Right.
a makeshift. Like Lily throws a party to just debut Charlie.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I don't know how you can't enjoy this season when there's 18 plot lines. One of them has to resonate with you.
One of them, surely one of them must. That seems to be actually.
That's the
usually
case,
problem.
actually,
We point
yeah.
out that it's one storyline every week works, and then the rest of them are a disaster.
recycled from the rest of the episodes this season.
Yes. Well, stay tuned for more masquerade balls, I'm sure. So,
If only.
yeah. So Lily's excited to introduce her darling niece into society, even though Carol made a mockery of her own debut. Rufus gives us a play-by-play of how Carol ruined her debut. That she hired Karen Finley to go in her place, and when her name was called, Karen walked out wearing nothing but chocolate and a pillbox hat. Just shades of how fun Carol used to be instead of what she is now, I guess. Also, Rufus very quick to recount these events. This seems like something that Rufus was dying to talk about.
Yeah, Rufus has his own playbill with a picture of this.
Yeah. Charlie's honored both for the party and that Lily booked an entire day at the spa for them. She thinks it's way too generous, especially since, the whole Max thing was just going on. But Lily doesn't blame Charlie for that. She says that Max had a lot of problems. And that's when Dan speaks for the first time, just to say, no wonder Serena was so into him, which is a nice jab, but also kind of a self-jab as he dated Serena as well.
I wrote that line down because I was just like, of course Serena's into him, because just thinking now that we're further into the season in season 5, we have so many wonderful stars. I think when I was last here, that's when she was dating Aaron, maybe that guy everyone forgot about.
Yep. Everyone loves Aaron Rose, of course. Even his own father.
He was so forgettable that I remember him.
Oh wow! Yeah. He came around on the other end.
It's like she has had so many 3-day boyfriends, 3-episode boyfriends.
Yeah.
And I would like to say Max is no different.
And there's like some that you
Why would
are
I
amazed,
say?
like oh this guy can't make it past the
It's gonna
3-day
disappear soon.
mark, and then they stay for way too long. Like Ben the teacher. Like I can't believe he's here past 3
Oh my
episodes.
God.
Yes.
Please
Oh
don't bring up Ben
God,
the
the
teacher.
teacher.
He's in like all of season 4 for some reason.
he gets main cast.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
even
I mean, listen, who hasn't been attracted to a felon at some point in their life?
oh, of course.
I think you're gonna
And
say
even
teacher. I'm
when-
like, I'm pretty sure everyone definitely has been attracted to a teacher before, especially your kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, I meant teacher,
Whoa.
not felon.
And then even when Serena's like, "Oh, Max is so unlike all the other guys I date." Like, what are you talking about? The only difference is he's poor, but he has exactly the same kind of vibe as everyone else you date. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and this the self jab for Dan. Let me just
Yeah.
say, the Humphreys at this point in time, woof.
Woof.
They are insufferable. Each and every one of them. We have passed the point where I can be like, maybe it's fine. No. Dan is so grating, but it's not even peak grating Dan. And now Rufus is really on a bender, and he's about to bend. I'm not going to give any spoilers.
we've been enjoying
is
Rufus lately.
almost-
Rufus
Rufus is
uh,
almost dead to me.
Rufus. Rufus. They've been using him sparingly this season.
He's been a
it
bench
seems
player
like
for
he's-
a while this season.
He really has been. It's crazy. He's still in every episode, but he's only in like one.
Just
one
say
or two
hello.
scenes.
Just say, it's me, Rufy, and then get out of here.
You'd be like, remember, I'm a dad. I'm really good at it. And it's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
That's his whole
You've
thing, is
never
him
been good at it.
convincing himself he's good at being a father.
Yeah, and Serena's like, wow, waffles, a new job, a party in your honor. Not a bad day to be Charlie Rhodes. And like, I feel like Rufus is like forcing Serena to say that waffles thing. He would have been pissed if Serena did not mention.
He didn't put
did
the
not
plate
include
down all the way
waffles.
until she said that. He's like,
Yeah.
that's right.
What else is she thankful for? Don't forget the waffles. And then, not content to have Charlie have all the spotlight, Rufus also points out it's not a bad day to be Dan Humphrey either. Apparently, Dan's little Twitter feud was so beneficial to him that Simon & Schuster is giving Inside a second printing because it's doing so well. You really got to start getting into more Twitter feuds in the name of Lonely Boy success.
I guess so, yeah. Do we start? Have we talked about starting a fake account yet? Because if not, we should do that.
Well,
You can't talk about the fake account.
yeah, we can't mention it
Cut
on
that,
the
cut
podcast.
that.
People are gonna. I mean, we already had the reviewer, the IMDb reviewer, Lonely Boy Lover 69, of course. So
That is true,
We would
but-
have to think of another name, I think.
Right. So we would go on the other end of the spectrum because they're Lonely Boy Lover. We need the other end, and then they would feud.
We hate Lonely Boys, yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
we'll get that going. Dan's editor.
Lonely Boy
wants him to
Loather.
publish-
How about that? Lonely
Okay,
Boy
sure.
Loather 420.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, that's good. Fine.
Sure. Liberation. Love.
It's not actually going to happen, so you can say whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
Just you wait.
So Dan's gotta publish a new afterward. He can't think of anything, and he's starting to see the appeal of heroin or womanizing or whatever writers do when they can't write. I know he's joking, but still a wild thing to say.
I think that was a weird joke. I don't know.
It was a weird joke. Yeah,
It didn't land with me at all, and the crowd loved it in the episode.
weird thing to say at the breakfast table. Like what?
Starting to understand heroin. Like what? Okay.
Hey, Danny, eat your waffles.
Your waffles, dude. I would think, contrary to Sarah, I've been enjoying later series, Dan, and only because he's been paired up with good people like Chuck and Blair, which we didn't get while he was fun. So that's his only solace for me right now.
See, his dynamic with Blair is what I find the most grating.
Wow.
I think this is a great episode for that.
In the lore of Chuck and Blair and Dan, she was so mean to him.
Yeah.
She did not give two shits about him. She wanted nothing to do with him, desperately told Serena to stay away, and then they go to college and she's still like, you suck. And then she's like, maybe we're friends now.
There's sparks, baby.
And Dan's like, and
well,
it's like this.
of course he would do that. I would do the same thing.
I mean, yeah, but heck off.
His side of it's
so
very
annoying.
relatable.
Like,
A
why?
mean girl all of a sudden likes you. That's the hottest thing there is.
All right, fair.
I think we've got
I don't know.
all ends of the spectrum here because I'm on the record as saying that
So
love Dan and
whiny.
Blair. Love Dan and Blair as friends, hate them as potential romantic
Right.
partners. So keep them in the friend zone. That's what I say. And so Serena points out that it's harder to write when you're not trashing your friends. And then Dan fires back that she ruined his movie. Clearly, no love lost between these two. And Rufus and Lily break up the fight. And then Lily says it's time to work out this fight. We've had enough of this shit. So you guys are going to work on this. And meanwhile, at the Empire here, businessman Nate's on the phone while Chuck is just like watching him lovingly while reading the paper. And Nate says he's got to cancel the meeting with Bloomberg because there's just too much going on today, which and then Chuck points out that a week ago, Nate couldn't get Bloomberg to give him a quote on The Spectator, and now he's canceling. So apparently, Nate really is the best newspaper editor of all time.
Yeah. Chuck really is getting a pants tent watching Nate just be a businessman. He loves every second
that
of it.
that he's almost aroused, but it might be because he's just watching Nate in his element right now.
Yeah.
It's just incredible that now everyone is full-fledged life and career, and they were in college for like a year.
They're supposed to still be in college. Nate is supposed to be in Columbia. Blair's supposed to be in Columbia. Dan's supposed to be at NYU.
A quick little job, and now he owns it and runs it, and that is never.
That actually makes the whole Nate's grandfather thing even funnier. Now that I think about that, his grandpa was like, Nate isn't CEO of a company yet, and he's only a sophomore in college. We got to speed this up. Didn't want him to finish school. Like, no, he's taking way too long.
I guess I'll buy a newspaper.
And he says in this episode too, he's like, I had a feeling you would like journalism.
He goes, sorry, grandson, I thought you might like journalism, so I bought a newspaper. Okay.
What was he
I
majoring
on a whim,
in?
thinking that you might. He's majoring in lacrosse. That's what he's majoring.
Yeah.
So true. He's majoring in fluff between his ears and nepotism.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. Like, if they're going to just have jobs, why didn't all of these families just buy honorary degrees for them so they could just skip the whole thing? I don't know.
I think they did.
I guess at this point they must have.
Right. So Nate explains that the article he ran about his family made people pay attention to him. Grandfather loved the editorial so much he invited Nate to be his guest at Camp Allen this weekend. And I had no idea what this was, but Nate seems very excited.
I assume it's a Camp Rock situation.
Yeah, bro.
Lots of musicals.
Nate seemed almost aroused himself, speaking of Camp Allen.
I mean, lots of musicals. You have Aaron Tveit. Of course there's going to be musicals as True Vanderbilt.
Well, Aaron
famous
Tveit
role.
Didn't get the invite, actually.
That's true. Or did he?
Well, we don't know. We don't know because no one has ever told Nate the truth in their life. We don't know what the fuck.
He should always assume anyone in his family is always lying to him.
It's so funny. That one by one, everyone just walks in, tells him a lie, and then walks out. And he's like, I Chuck's very impressed. The Allen Retreat is apparently legendary. I did do a quick Google on the Allen Retreat. Forbes apparently actually did write an article on this retreat just this year, inside the annual summer camp for billionaires. So I guess this is a real summer camp that billionaires just go
Probably
to.
pretty cool then.
That I didn't know. I thought it was supposed to be like Camp David or whatever, like the White House retreat or something.
No, I don't know what goes on there. One day, I mean, what do we have to do to get the Lonely Boys to do a live podcast at the Allen Retreat this year?
That's a great thing. I mean, I'm picturing just when we went to what's that place? The YMCA camp we went to in Forest Hills. No, in eighth grade we went to this crazy sleepaway camp for like 3 days.
Frost Valley.
Frost Valley, and I'm picturing Nate at Frost Valley, and I would love to do that. But whatever the billionaire version of that is, probably much better.
Yeah,
not really much of a camper, but I go to billionaire camp.
Yeah. I completely agree. And Camp Allen is the Frost Valley for billionaires. That is what they call it. So Nate sees what Chuck is reading, and he's like, "Hey, why are you reading a rival paper?" But then he sees the headline: "Is the royal wedding off? Blair not seen with Prince in weeks." And Nate's shocked they might call the wedding off, but Chuck is not getting his hopes up. He's like, "Oh, listen, it's just a story." Nate still thinks Chuck should give her a call, even though Chuck points out that Louis is the father of Blair's child, so there's no way she's leaving that. Very Marissa Cooper of Chuck here. It seems a classic storyline here.
Yeah,
we got to get Chuck and Blair in a Hallelujah montage. I think that's the
key to making me care about them again.
I did check. There are.
Listen.
I know.
In the same way, a hot girl bullies Dan, and then they get along, and he falls in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
A woman being able to change a man, his bad boy ways, to groveling at her feet. That's something.
Yeah.
That is something.
It might have
you
taken 60
that
episodes
is
too
the
long for me.
appeal.
I
Well, back then we had to do 22 episodes in a season,
Exactly.
and each one was an hour.
you got to fill the time somehow.
But honestly,
I,
that's
gotta
just
feel it.
the modern version of this love story might be much better for me. They could tighten
Maybe.
it up.
I did check. There are plenty of fan-made Blair and Chuck Hallelujah montages. Perhaps some of them made by Sarah. I know what a big Blair and Chuck shipper she was. She made all
I'm
of
sure I
them.
know which ones you're looking at.
She can
She made
quote them
multiple
verbatim.
versions of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it starts with the season 4 one where they zoom in and say, I love you for the first time.
So,
And then they meet on the
speaking-
bridge at the train station.
That's a classic.
Oh, that's a classic. A great.
The fact
scene.
that you just said it, the fact that it took them 4 seasons to say "I love you" is insane.
All right,
It was
relax.
3. No,
come
technically
on.
end of 2.
Half of them
And
said
then,
it.
like,
You're the,
at the
you're the
end of
Three.
historian. You're the historian.
I think it's end
Speaking
of
of
3.
Blair, though,
Sorry.
she's having a little trouble getting her ring on her finger. Dorota says the same thing happened to her. Pregnancy makes fingers swell up like kielbasa's. And Blair can't have the paparazzi see her without her ring on because they'll think it means something. Paparazzi playing a big role in this episode. They're going to get a lot of shout-outs. They're going to be
Huge
everywhere.
role. Hey,
I
honestly,
haven't seen much of the
Yes.
paparazzi.
Princess Diana
Yes.
is
So
the people's princess.
she is. She's.
I was
my
surprised there's
Diana.
not more of this going on throughout the series. Like this, it makes sense that they were this prevalent. I guess more so now than ever. I guess because of the royalty, though. I guess
Yes,
I'm
and
putting it all
because
together.
It's like the global sensation
Right.
as opposed to just the Upper East Side.
Yeah, so Blair still doesn't know what to do, but Dorota thinks it's simple. Chuck already told her how to make Louis a good man, like he is. The classic magic spell, bibbidi bobbidi boo, I will never leave you, poof. But Blair, gonna be a big thing with her. She doesn't know if she can promise Louis that she will never leave him, which seems like a red flag to me. If you cannot promise your fiance, I will never leave you, perhaps maybe the wrong man.
Yeah. All I can say
That's
is,
in the vows.
it's in the vows. I have to say, thank God that we're finally wrapping this up now because she's been saying, I don't know if I love Louis for the whole season so far. It's
Yeah,
just,
I mean, maybe since last season.
They
She's-
wrapped
yeah,
up?
yeah.
Yeah, well, so Dorota breaks it down for her. Handsome prince who is father of your child, love you. What is stopping you? And I didn't like that Dorota was pushing her in the direction of Louis, but perhaps maybe some, maybe
Some
she was
reverse
knowingly
psychology.
pushing Blair in the opposite direction. Yeah, because she's like, listen, you're not asking him because there's someone else. But Blair tells Dorota that unlike her, she doesn't say yes to the first person that asks her, but she already did say yes. She said yes to Louis' proposal. So what is she talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like, though, in Dorota's defense, when you have somebody who's in front of you who's back and forth between somebody, and they're just like, I just don't know what to do. I think I might go this way. And it's flip flops every single day. At one point, you're like, make a decision. You have one option that is safe and cute and the father of your child, and then the other guy who you have no idea what's going on with. For the love of God, make a decision. Pick the prince.
Yeah.
Then that forces the other person to make a decision because you made a decision, and then they have to sit with like, oh wait, I don't want that, or like,
It's true.
yeah, okay, yeah, sounds
And
good.
once she's like, okay, I'll fix the prince, and she realizes she really doesn't want to pick the prince, then, makes the decision a little easier, hopefully. So Dorota, again, knows that it's this thought of Chuck making Blair unsure, even though Blair adamantly denies this. But she does admit that Chuck has changed. But this is about Louis, and until she can promise Louis that he'll never lose her or her fingers regain their elegant shape, she is not leaving the apartment. So whichever comes first, I guess, either the fingers or the Louis things. And Dorota points out that it could be a long time, and Blair says you can live on takeout for months, which I feel like you can live on takeout for your whole life, but I feel like I feel like I've been living on takeout for more than 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
absolutely
you
could.
caught that, Bebop says move on from the takeout. He just growled.
That was what that was? I thought you were getting hungry talking about takeout.
He said healthy. He said healthy food only.
Bebop said we are not promoting takeout on the podcast.
I mean,
All right.
We're sponsored
getting
by
a diner
we're sponsored
alone.
by HelloFresh.
Oh, okay.
All fresh ingredients.
All fresh ingredients.
Use code lonely.
Yes, enter
Lonely
code lonely.
25.
I like that. For 25% off your first order.
That's a really good deal.
That is
For
really
4
good deal.
boxes.
For 4 boxes.
Yeah, I'm a representative for HelloFresh. You realize that.
You're a great
I can
saleswoman.
tell. Dan and Serena are hashing things out. Dan apologizes for thinking that Serena was trying to sabotage his book being made into a movie, and then Serena apologizes for it not working out. So, really, just seemed like they needed one conversation for them to fix it.
Sorry.
Classic, you ruined my movie.
Yeah.
So, also, I feel like with all this renewed interest of Inside, someone will want to make this stupid movie. Brendan, remember when you declared a couple weeks ago that the book storyline was over and done with? We're still talking about this book.
I guess that's why this conversation was so quick, because they can't really fully rehash this because it's been done. So I think they just need to say their apologies. But I guess you're right. His side of it might still go on. I guess according to Rufus earlier in the episode, there's more buzz happening with him. But it's not really what any of the episode is about. So I guess they'll pick up with that next episode, maybe.
Well, Dan's never been stuck like this before, not knowing how to write his afterword. I feel like that's untrue. We've seen Dan stuck lots of times, but
All the time.
Serena,
Most of the time.
every time he has to write something that's not about Serena, he's stuck. So
That's the only reason why this book came out, because it was about Serena.
yeah, well, mostly about Blair.
Yeah,
if you
and
remember.
it's so crazy that he thinks he is into Blair when he only ever wants to write about Serena.
It's true. And so Serena thinks it's a
Didn't see that coming.
Serena thinks it's a great opportunity to reflect on how Inside has changed him and changed everyone. And Dan's like, "What are you talking about? Did it change anyone?" And when Serena says everyone, she really only means the important people, as in the group of friends who the book is about. And she's like, "Yeah, made Nate realize he didn't want to be half a person, so now he's a full person running the Spectator. Chuck went from dying alone to therapy, which." Those are usually the two options. And Serena was like, and I thought I changed my ending with my stupid blog, but she admits she's still making bad decisions with her love life. I guess at least she realizes it. I don't know.
She's the only unchangeable character.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something for Serena here. At least, I guess, at least she realizes the people that she's falling in love with are terrible.
The one thing I'll say about her that she's doing well right now is that she found a way to get tan without looking racist in this episode.
Okay,
She's starting to find the threshold there.
yes, and so you will be giving her the MVP for this.
Yes.
For that?
This is the 2000, this was early 2000s. Of course it was the orange tan.
Yeah.
The fashions, even though they withstand the test, Blair Waldorf always withstands the test of time. Serena's outfits have choices made.
I think it's the scene where she walks into the
era.
hospital. I laughed because she looked so insane with her giant bow on her dress. It's so funny.
How dare you?
Oh,
How
yeah.
dare you? That's always what I wear to the hospital.
A sequence
I'm
bow.
going to get my appendix out.
No. Do the surgery around the bow. Around the bow.
Yeah, please. Mhm.
So Serena tells Dan she envies him because he gets to go on this journey to see where he made mistakes and went off track. And Serena wishes she had something like that. And then Dan's like, what do you like? Gossip Girl exists. What do you mean? And they both laugh at this, but Dan is serious. Gossip Girl has chronicled Serena's entire life since they started going to school. So what harm could it be to read the biography of Serena van der Woodsen as written by Gossip Girl? He thinks she might learn something she didn't expect. And that's when Rufus comes in to tell Serena that Charlie is leaving and needs her coat. So Serena thanks Dan and leaves. And now we're going to get some, I'm sure this was Sarah's favorite scene, some Humphrey father-son bonding.
Yeah.
Rufus says Dan...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Brendan.
I'll say it afterwards. I didn't realize you were going to go into
Okay.
more.
Rufus asks Dan how it went, and Dan is dwelling that the ending of his book changed everyone except for him, of course. But we just went over, Serena didn't actually change. She just mentioned Nate and Chuck, and that's still up. I feel like Chuck's therapy probably did more to change him than Dan's book, and then Nate didn't even read the book because we know that he can't read. So did his book change anyone is what I'm saying. Probably not.
Probably not.
Dan is such a pick-me. He's a pick-me.
He is.
Everything about him is he's like, it's hard for me and nobody else because I live in Brooklyn.
But he's the worst kind of pick me in the way that he
There
wants to
are
make it
the
look like he
girls.
doesn't care. He wants to be like, oh, I'm a cool guy on the outside, but wants to be there so badly.
He's like,
the number one insider.
everybody changed, but I didn't. And it's like,
Nate only changed because his grandpa bought him a paper. Nothing about Nate has changed. Nate's the exact same guy.
He's
And
still the guy
again-
trying to read the hookah instructions.
Chuck,
That's why he laughs so hard at that
therapy.
joke, because he knows it's true.
Exactly.
yeah, Chuck got into therapy using BetterHelp with code only plus 25.
That's right.
Our second sponsor of today's podcast.
Wow.
Get 25% off your first 4 sessions.
Oh my God, they're
with
saving
me,
so
actually. I
much.
hope everybody
They're
knows
with
that.
they're with Sarah. And then once they go full price, they're with me.
Yeah, I actually won't let you talk at all during your session. It's just going to be me monologuing.
Hope you're ready.
Any good therapist would do.
So, regardless, Rufus tells Dan it's not too late to change, and Dan doesn't know how to change, and Rufus just hits him with, well, starters, Blair. And like now Rufus is a Dare shipper after hating on Blair all these years. That doesn't really track for me. But then he also brags that he's very observant, which is comically false. It took Dan
That was so
blatantly spelling
funny.
it out and writing a book about it before Rufus even realized there was a chance.
And then
that
he
Dan
still
could
wasn't
be into
sure
Blair.
after that. He read that. He
Yeah,
was like,
and then he still wasn't sure.
he didn't really get it.
Dan wrote a book about how he's into
Literally-
Blair. Rufus still didn't believe it, and now he's like, "I'm very observant. I can kind of tell you're into Blair."
This is what is so great about Rufus. I literally fell over. My ear whatever fell out. I have no time for his like. What's the word that I'm looking for? It's like that like. Well, you know that I know that you know. Of like he is the last one to find out anything, and he is going to be like, but it was my idea.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, when, Blair and Dan get together, we all know that it's going to be Rufus's doing.
But he also is like, that's the most dad thing ever. That's like the most universal dad thing
Yeah.
is to be that way.
That's fair.
It's very
Dan
believable.
Dan hasn't dated anyone since the kiss with Blair last spring, so Rufus has cracked the case based on that. But much like Chuck, Dan points out that she is having a baby with Louis. They love this storyline so much, they're giving it to multiple characters. Now Chuck and Dan are both like, I want to get with Blair, but unfortunately she's having a baby with Louis. And the difference here, though, is that Dan realizes he isn't even in second place anymore. He's like, even
At least
if
he knows,
Blair wasn't
yeah.
with Louis, she'd be with Chuck, not him. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's been a 2-horse race for the most part this season, but every once in a while they'll throw Dan back into the mix just for like an episode.
yeah, just for fun.
Or not even for not even a whole episode, just for like half an episode they'll throw in the
Let's
mix.
just see what happens. Yeah, maybe Dan too. Who knows?
Yeah.
So Rufus thinks that even if Blair doesn't feel the same way, it may be worth it for Dan to tell her how he feels, at least so he can move on. Which, much like Serena will say, although she has intentions of her own, yes, this is exactly what Blair needs right now. Another person to stress out about. That's going to solve all of
And that'd be,
everyone's
like the
problems.
way she's feeling right now, and from what we see her doing, it would be insane if Dan went up to her and said, "I love you, Blair." She's like, "Finally, this is what I've been waiting for. Now I can have
This is
I
bad
can raise my
advice.
child
This
with
is
you."
bad advice from Rufus. I don't think.
This is bad advice.
I feel like this is like the best advice Serena gives Dan, at least in this moment, because like they're such frenemies, they hate each other, but then there are moments where you're like, that's what a girly would do. She would tell the guy to be like, this is for you. She doesn't need to hear this.
Yeah, right.
Like you're doing
And then-
this for your sake.
right.
And Serena instantly ruins it by trying to get Louis, and Blair together.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we again tip the scales.
So Tripp pays Nate a visit, tells Nate that great joke about how, last time he saw him concentrating so hard, he was reading the instructions on how to assemble a hookah. Very funny because Nate was definitely just, trying to figure out how to read, which he still famously does not know how to do, unfortunately. But it's nice that they can laugh about it.
Yeah.
And Tripp just wanted to stop by and say hey, but asks if they're still on for racquetball tomorrow. But actually, Grandfather's taking Nate out to the Allen retreat tonight, which seems to be news to Tripp. And Nate's like, oh, don't worry, it was probably a last-minute decision. He just can't bring both of us. And Tripp says that the only reason he asked Nate was because that Tripp backed out. The truth is, Tripp can't stand to be around Grandfather right now because Maureen and him have been having some issues since the fake affair, but something hadn't been adding up. And Maureen finally admitted that Grandfather was behind the whole thing. He made her do it, and just because he said it was to help Tripp's campaign doesn't make it okay. So at this point, we are led to believe that, and Grandfather will confirm it, that Grandfather was behind this whole thing after all. What a twist. Brendan, I can see your jaw is on the floor right now.
Yeah, I mean, you always know he's up to something, but this is something that I wasn't really interested in. This was like not a huge reveal, and I think this also you
So you
find
were gonna
out
say I wasn't expecting this, but instead you were like, but I just don't
I
care.
thought they already revealed this.
that's
They
what it
revealed
feels
that
like.
Grandfather was
It's
behind it.
right.
I think they maybe revealed to the audience.
I think something you expect too coming from him. Like if there's something up and Grandfather's in the plot at the moment, like well, he's the one pulling the strings there.
Yeah.
Even him, he's like,
Not
oh
gonna
yeah, it
lie.
was me.
Yeah,
On
right away.
this watch, and I think maybe because of all the news coming out, the Grandfather's giving real Epstein vibes to me, like in looks
Yeah,
and power and like come to camp, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
It is
not
the
really
looks,
a fun
especially for
analogy,
me, yeah.
but yes, I just like this is it was upon this watch today with all of like the list is coming out.
Uh-huh.
I was like, Grandfather would also have a list.
Yeah, we're gonna get the Vanderbilt Allen retreat list any day now. I'm sure.
Bill Clinton.
We're gonna see who's on that list.
Obama.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Sure.
gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough day. And so Tripp apologizes for burdening Nate with this, but maybe it's better that Nate knows before going away with Grandfather because Grandfather manipulated him too. So Poor Nate. Everyone's just trying to manipulate him.
But even when this news is given to Nate, I'm like, Trip is lying somehow. I don't know how or care how, but this is gonna go the other direction at some point.
Do, do you two know Aaron Tveit from theater, who plays
No,
Trip Vanderbilt?
I just know of him.
So I know of him from theater. I have not seen him in the theater at all.
So while everyone on Gossip Girl was on the cover of Teen Vogue and we were all looking at it, gonna bring you back to high school me. Um, then Aaron Tveit comes on the screen as Trip Vanderbilt, the voice of a beautiful little heartthrob angel.
Mm-hmm.
The girlies were screaming.
Yep.
We were streaming. We were watching. Obviously, he was. People like to start with him as Fiero in Wicked, obvious heartthrob role. But then
Obvious.
we like to delve into like the Studio 54 performances where he's doing like Run Away with Me. It was him and Jeremy Jordan had a version of Run Away with Me that were just played on loop, on repeat. And if you were in that subsect, I have many people in my network who would say this, but maybe they might be the only people who would watch these two on repeat. But it was a huge competition between Aaron Tveit and Jeremy Jordan's version of Run Away with Me. And it's beautiful.
Wow.
And you know what? I think at the time I was Aaron Tveit. I've grown and adapted and understand that both hold value.
Okay.
That's
That's
but
growth.
him as Trip Vanderbilt, every time, and you know what? On his playbills, it says like Gossip Girl. I'm like,
And we know what
this
happens
is like a
with
fun little
playbills.
secret.
Was this
Yeah.
competition televised? You have to like do your own research and like listen to each one.
Oh no, just on YouTube.
Okay,
It's a
I want
really
I want a competition of this, like a real.
crappy screen recording from
Yeah.
somebody in the audience in 2010,
Okay.
I think.
Love it.
It's one of those years. But Aaron Tveit singing "Run Away with Me," and you're gonna be like, I get it.
Okay.
Listen,
Do
I
your
already
homework.
get it. I don't even have to watch. I will do my homework. We'll
I-
link to it in the show notes, of
Yeah.
course, and
Oh yeah.
as we always do. And
It's
more
on
Trip
Sarah's
later, of
YouTube
course.
channel where you can find the Hallelujah compilations as well.
There it is. So
It's full of
Dorota
wonderful things.
Rhoda has a DVD on prenatal yoga. She wants to use this time to get in shape for childbirth, but Blair, not a fan of the idea. She just wants Dorota to still be cleaning, even though she's pregnant. And Blair gets a delivery, and the guy hands her a pen to sign. And I love that Blair Waldorf would never stoop so low as to use this guy's pen. So
From
she
his
has
ear,
to get
too.
her own pen.
I don't
Yeah.
blame her.
That's true. As she's signing, the guy snaps a picture of her. Turns out he is paparazzi. So Dorota attacks him and curses him out in Polish. But we find out Blair's upset. She's not even safe in her own home, so she has to get out of here. And Dorota suggests her place in Queens, but Blair tells her that princesses don't go to Queens. So true.
So true.
Princesses.
I was gonna say
don't go to Queens.
this move by this delivery guy is a great move. I do it all the time. This is what I do for a living. Essentially, is have people sign off on things, and I always do the snap a pic move when someone takes my pen from my
you
ear.
bring your camera.
I
You're
sprint
not
away.
even paparazzi. You just take a picture.
This idiot took the package. Look at them. What a noob.
So the phone rings. It's Dan. He's wondering what Blair is doing today, and she tells Dan that she's gonna come to stay with him actually. And Dan's like, "Oh, okay," which so much easier.
I do have a
than,
chance.
yeah, so much easier.
I'm
than
in the
fucking-
race.
Yeah, Dan's nailing it so far.
Dad was right.
Who do you just have to ask?
Rufus, you were onto something. You crazy guy. So Blair is sitting on Dan's couch. Dan saw Blair's photo in the paper and asks if she's okay. Blair says that everything is horrible. She needs to go to Louis and assure him that he's never going to lose her, but something is stopping her. And again, if you are engaged and this is a problem, maybe not the right guy. And then Dan can even see he's like, yeah, it's Chuck stopping you. Like everyone knows this, even me who is also in love with you. And Blair disputes it though. She hasn't even spoken to Chuck. And Dan explains that she doesn't need to talk to him because they have this force field attraction to each other that physicists should study.
Is it him talking about this? I am like, is he going to actually confess his love for her? Because he seems like he knows very plain and clear that
Right.
he has no chance. So I wasn't sure what he's going to do.
He's going to talk up Chuck
Dan's
the whole
thinking
time. And be
about
like,
it.
He's thinking about
yeah.
it.
And he's like, by the way, I'm also into you though. So do with that information as you
I don't
will.
think I love you quite as much as Chuck does, but I like you. I kind of like you.
Hey,
What do you think?
He was talking about Chuck, but he was really talking about himself. But Blair heard what she wanted to hear, which is her true love, Chuck, and nothing to do with Dan because
Right.
he's a pick me boy.
Which is maybe enough for Dan to be like,
And-
oh, okay, she like really bit on that, and she clearly does love Chuck a lot, so I should just probably zip it now.
Well, yeah, especially when at the point where Dan's like, it wouldn't matter to me if I had to raise another man's child, and she's like, okay,
Wink,
perfect.
wink, nudge,
I'll
nudge.
call Chuck then.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Incredible.
Chuck has finally become the man that Blair wants him to be, and Blair knows how to change Louis to the person she fell in love with, which means she is trapped. She doesn't want to choose because she can't, so she tells Dan that he has to help her. And I was all for this because, as I keep saying, Dan and Blair work great as friends. So if Dan can help her as a friend to get back with Chuck, who is her one true pairing, then I'm all for this.
I still don't think that she actually does have the power to change Louis to the person she wants to be. Hasn't she been like trying to do that and it hasn't?
Yeah, I don't
really
know.
worked?
Yeah, I don't know what this mystery thing that she found.
It seems a
maybe I
lot
just
less
forgot what
easy.
happened
Like
last
Chuck's already
episode.
changed
Yeah.
and is where you want him to be. So just go with
Yeah.
that instead of trying to change this ugly guy.
If you attended any of the discounted therapy sessions with me, I would hit you with the advice of, let them they can't tell you who they are. They have to show you who they are.
Oh.
And what Louis has shown is that he's a little bitch.
What a good therapy voice and great advice.
And we are
Many
charging
years
our
of
listeners for this,
experience
right?
on the other end.
I mean, our listeners will get 25% off for this therapy session, but we are billing them at the end of it, just so no
Yeah.
one's surprised.
I don't
Get
take
rid of the pony
insurance.
up the bucks.
So, it would have been hilarious if Dan took all this in and then was like, "And there's this secret third option that I'm also in love with you." She would just be like, "What? What are you saying?"
I also know that I shoot blanks. No more babies for you.
Is that canon? Dan shoots blanks. I didn't remember. I didn't remember that coming up in the show.
Should be.
With all the chili heats.
Okay. So Dan suggests a pros and cons list. And when Blair shoots that down, Dan once again makes a Howard Hughes reference. And either Howard Hughes is a huge icon that I'm
having
aware
the-
of, or these characters all know way more about Howard Hughes than I would expect. And apparently, again, we had someone tweeted us again. Apparently, we do have to watch the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons to get these jokes. That is something that I am not.
At least you know what.
doing.
In his defense, the first 10 seasons are the seasons that I would want to watch, if any seasons. So
Sure. Not just to get a Howard Hughes joke. though.
And at this point, you would think they've all passed, but now I'm starting to wonder if there's going to be a bunch more in the next season and a half.
No spoilers.
Damn, I thought I got you.
Howard Hughes becomes main cast in season 6.
And he's wearing the Howard Duck costume.
Yeah. We have had this conversation before.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes.
Blair starts with Chuck. Pros, he truly has become a good man. Cons, Dan says he slept with every woman in New York. Now, out of everything, that's what Dan goes with as the con for Chuck. I feel like he could have come up with something better than that.
Wow. Just
He's in a writer's block.
shaming him for his sexuality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
Louis.
zhuzh, you know?
I know. So Louis, pros, he's a prince. And Dan's like, yeah, of Monaco. What else? Like, Dan really being
Got him.
snooty about Monaco here.
It's not one of the when you
then-
think of like princes and like royalty. That's not the first place to think of, because like before this show, I didn't know what Monaco was. I've never heard of it.
Well, I guess Dan had a point then. Blair says he's
Jewelry
he's
in
also,
Monaco.
okay. There it is.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Blair says he's also the father of her child, and that's that. Blair can make all the lists in the world, but what else matters? Louis is the father of my child, so he's the only ending to this fairy tale, right? Dan tells her it doesn't have to be. So Blair's like, listen, it doesn't matter that my baby is another man's child. And Dan says it wouldn't to him. And that's when Blair hears this and is like, okay, I'll call Chuck then. So, and clearly correct that even if Louis was out of the picture, it would be Chuck and not him.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chuck answers and he goes, "I will raise the baby."
If only
No,
he
he
would have said that.
doesn't.
I know.
He doesn't. We could have saved so much drama.
End of episode.
Dan still has some work to do if he wants to crawl to the top of this quadrangle. So not going to happen right now. Charlie first gets a call from Max. He's still not leaving till he gets his money, even though Charlie offered him some money to get home, but he said no to the disgusting offer of $5,000. And then Max again tries to tell Ivy to give him the full amount she promised, or he's going to tell everyone who will listen who she really is. First of all, the amount they agreed on was $50,000, and Max was the one who decided to up it to $500 when he thought he could blackmail her. So it's not like they agreed on this ever. But also, Charlie, like, he's tried this before. This is his one trick, and it doesn't work. So Charlie is very confident these days and tells him to go for it. If her own family didn't believe him, then who will? And so Max is holding a copy of not his playbill, not his trusty playbill. He's moved on to some new JO material. He's got the copy of The Spectator.
Yeah, I think the
And it
playbill
looks like
has
he's got
officially
an idea.
shattered into pieces.
Yeah, so
He was reading about Aaron Tveit role on Gossip Girl.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
He
out.
got,
I mean, who wouldn't crank to that?
Getting almost aroused himself. So he's got an idea. Serena is perusing Gossip Girl. How down in the dumps do you have to be about yourself to be going back and reading through all of your greatest hits on Gossip Girl? Like, I'll be honest, probably something I would do semi-regularly if I was in this universe, but still.
And that's like similar to use, I guess, like reading through all your old tweets or something, or your mentions. Maybe.
I mean, I don't really.
Yeah,
I
but
do
it's
go
what
through.
people are saying about you.
Right,
It's
right.
a little bit different because you're getting the attention from elsewhere and not from like
Totally.
your own thoughts. But it is peak like girl who peaked in high school now just lives in high school, doesn't know what to do with her life, has so much money she doesn't know what to do with. So she
And her
just is
dumbest
like,
friend runs a business.
That's Serena.
That
So
sweet, beautiful dum dum.
So Rufus comes in and asks Serena what she's working on. It seems like Rufus's main role these days is to wander around the house from room to room like a ghost with nowhere to go and just ask other characters what they're
Is he
up to.
allowed out
Like,
of this penthouse?
I don't know. Is he like he might be dead? He might like it might be that thing where like every time
I like
he
that
leaves
theory.
every time he leaves the building, he just ends up right back in there because he died and has unfinished business somewhere in the penthouse.
Yeah, he's weird this episode, and I think this conversation with Serena, he says something along the lines of like how good her and Dan were together, and the episode starts with the two parents being like, "You two siblings need to figure this out," and they're treating the two of them as siblings, and now like hours later, Rufus is like, "Maybe think about fucking Dan again. What do you think? What do you think?" Even though he just told Dan to go after Blair.
No, I don't. I mean, he does spark this between Serena and Dan, but it is not intentional.
It wasn't
I don't think, because
explicit
Rufus
by any means. No.
is fully a Dare shipper now. But yeah, Serena's like saying she wants to pinpoint where she started making bad romantic decisions, and Rufus is like, "Not all bad, I hope," implying like, "You say dating my son was a bad idea."
Weird. It's a weird thing to say.
Don't you dare imply that Dan was a bad decision.
What is she supposed to say? She has to like, yeah, he was great. All right, just relax. Get that waffle away from
She's
me.
like, yeah, I'm up to junior year, and reminiscing about all the good times I had with Dan. And at this point, I'm like, oh, Brendan, you've been predicting for a while that Dan and Serena are endgame. Is this the start of a rekindled romance?
This is it. This is it. I mean, they could easily do this in. How many episodes do you think we have left? I guess like 20-ish total. 30?
Of the series at large?
Yeah.
So after this, there will be 24 more episodes of the series.
Yeah, that's like a perfect amount of time for them to get together.
Okay, there.
I'm looking at the
there you
runtime
have
of the
it.
series.
You don't think anybody's gonna come back?
I mean, that'll be like
Or-
maybe the climax of them getting together is like something to potentially divide them one more time.
For now,
Because,
it would help. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say is at this point in high school, I was like, Vanessa has to come back
Oh,
because I was like, Dan and Vanessa were endgame.
if anybody, but I think
Oh.
Gagan has told me that she's no longer with
She's
us.
on the oil rig. She's
Yeah.
she's not coming back. She's helping out Carter Bays.
That
on
would
the
make a
oil
lot of
rig.
sense. Though. That would be a good little knife in
You
there.
have Carter Bays in. I actually think that Carter and Serena were good together.
Yeah, they were in bed like the second time, especially the horse days.
Yeah, the horse days. Okay, all right. So
I don't think
we just
if we've even liked any of Serena's boyfriends at this point.
I mean, I think maybe
We like
compared
Dan,
to
right?
the rest, maybe
You better say we like Dan.
Carter did.
Dan was good, right?
Oh, sorry. Rufus just hopped onto the pod really quick.
Okay. Rufus, I'm sorry. I'll take the answer to this.
Jesus, all
I'll
right,
forgive
go
my
back.
boyfriend, I promise.
Oh God, okay, that was
And he
scary.
crop dusts
Those
his way out of
things
the room afterwards. Chili farts.
are- Why?
He's always crop dusting chili farts.
When you watch season 1 of Gossip Girl and season 2, you're like, wow, Dan and Serena, that is everything. And then, if you're me, you never
And
want
most
to see
people
it
are.
ever again.
Mm. So
That's
All
right.
you care about are Chuck and Blair, and that becomes your whole personality.
Rufus agrees that Serena and Dan were great together, and he says it's really something how those feelings can turn into such an enduring friendship. And to me, I thought that was Rufus doing his part to try and keep Serena in the friend zone there.
I read it the other way. I don't know. The way I don't know.
He literally says friendship. He says enduring friendship.
I know, but look at the way what it makes her do. I think she gets the other message.
That's Serena. Serena's never made a good decision in her life. Right? Everyone in the world could be lining up and telling her, "You and Dan are great friends," and she'll be like, So I have to make sure.
So maybe
that
Rufus
Blair
knows her and
ends
is
up
like,
with
I have to tell her that she has to be friends with Dan, and then she'll want to do the opposite.
Louis. All right, maybe it'll come out
Dan,
that.
Rufus is like 8 episodes behind, so he's like, Blair.
Yeah, that could be
Rufus
part of
just
it,
found
too.
out that Dan has feelings for Blair. So Rufus, or Serena gets a Gossip Girl blast, which is out of the ordinary, and Detective Rufus really feeling himself. He's like, "Yeah, I've noticed. You guys haven't been getting a lot of those lately. I'm observant. I know these things."
I haven't seen a lot of those scenes where
Oh,
the whole room stops and gets a buzz on their phone at the same time.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Since no one will dare send in a scoop, I had to do my own stakeout, and hard work paid off. Spotted. Possible runaway bride, Blair Waldorf, being offered refuge at Lonely Boy's Loft. Looks like Brooklyn folks rush in. It's very funny to me that Gossip Girl is doing her own work now.
Doing
and
the
doing her
legwork,
stakeouts.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Anything
the
to
early
keep the
days,
brand
I
going.
kind of thought this was what was going on, but now, like, you realize that it takes the entire city to come together and help Gossip Girl do what they do. Now,
They could stop Gossip Girl very easily.
it's
as
insane
they
that
are
they
right
even
now.
got this tip by itself because they have to be sprinting around the city, hoping that they run into these people.
Now, do
Everyone
you
just-
have? I'm not sure if you've talked about this yet, but do you have your guesses list of whom Gossip Girl might be?
I don't
So-
really know. Okay, Gagan has told me that at this point, I think still at this point in the series that they don't really have that nailed down themselves. So there's really no way for me to know.
No, I think at this point they're pretty
At
sure
season,
what's
well, so
what's
so at
happening.
season 5 they start to have somewhat of an idea, but I believe it's been said that they didn't not like decide for sure until like the third to last episode, and then they did not tell any of the actors or anything until like after they were already filming the finale. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to find.
They did set it up. Like at this point, they
yes.
had an inkling.
Yeah, I let's see. As of the most recent time, Brendan predicted at the end of season 4, Brendan predicted that Dorota was Gossip Girl.
It's a good guess.
At the end of
That's a good
it's yours.
guess.
The end of season 3, Brendan predicted Blair was Gossip Girl. At the end of season 2, Brendan predicted that Nelly Yuki was Gossip Girl. How's that prediction looking, Brendan? Would be a hell of a reveal.
Okay.
That would be good.
And then at the end of season 1, Brendan's prediction was Chuck. So Brendan's 4 predictions have been Chuck, Nelly Yuki, Blair, and Dorota.
Okay. I mean, honestly, all guesses I think in watching the season that track.
Yeah, I think that's so. Brendan, don't hang your head in shame. You're doing a great job.
All right. if you've been watching the video, I've been hanging my head low this entire.
Yeah.
I'm not even in the video. My head's below camera view.
It's as low as I dipped when we started talking about Rufus.
Well, yeah, a common thing for everyone.
Yeah.
Blair, we're gonna go back to the loft here. Blair calls Chuck. Chuck answers. She needs his advice. She says, "It seems as you found your way, I've lost mine, and this is a problem that only Chuck can help her with. No one else, not Humphrey." And she just straight up asks Chuck if he could love another man's child, and Chuck is like, "I can't make this decision for you. You're the one that has to live with it," which is true, but he can at least answer the question. That
Right,
she
answer
asked.
the question. Yeah.
She asked him a yes or no question.
Like,
He
I
can
could,
answer
but
the question. Like, don't make the decision for her, but just be like, I mean, if
But
we're speaking honestly, yeah, sure.
whenever you
I
do
can
make a
that.
decision,
Right.
yeah, I could do it.
Do you? Come on.
Yeah.
I feel like it wasn't even a soft no though. It was just kind of he avoided the question and was like, I can see it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. He says, I
But still
can't
left the
imagine.
door open.
Right. He's like, I can't imagine that picking the father of your child would be a bad idea. Even though, I mean, I don't think that's historically always the correct move to just be with the father of your child.
No.
I think that just staying with someone because he's the father of your child could be a very bad choice. But I guess Chuck is going to tell
In
us
the
what he's
fairy
doing.
tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at this moment, I was like, what is Chuck doing? Blair's like pretty much telling him that she wants to leave Louis for him. Like, why is he responding this way? I guess, as he says, he like really wants Blair to be sure of herself. He doesn't want her to leave Louis because of him at all. Like, he doesn't want this traced back to him in any way. He needs this to be 100% Blair's call.
Yeah. I get you can tell it's difficult
way
for
to
him
approach
too.
it.
Yeah. He wants to just be like, give me that baby, girl. But
Give me that baby.
He's holding back.
He's been practicing DBT techniques for sure.
Oh yeah.
Doing his box breathing.
That's right. That'd be
force
so funny if this is when
in.
they call him. They cut to him in the class.
Yes.
So, all right. So Nate and Grandfather here. Nate's just going to straight up ask Grandfather if he was involved in the fake cheating scandal. And then Grandfather just straight up admits it. He's like, yep, that was my idea.
Yep,
he's
and I
like,
bought this
"Well,
place
well."
too.
Darn it.
He's like, That's the best one. He's like, I thought it would help Trip. Obviously, mistake. And I was going to tell you this weekend, but while we're on the subject, also, you didn't get this job.
While I'm coming clean.
You didn't get this job. But while I'm coming clean about everything, I bought this newspaper and I hired you, and that's why you have the job. They definitely did not picture the conversation.
And by the way, when we go to Camp Allen, don't mind all the underage girls. Just walk right past them.
Totally fine.
No coincidence that Diana hired you. That was my doing. And so Nate's like whole view of himself is crumbling because remember, Nate thought he did this all on his own without any help from Grandpappy, and now he's pissed that he wasn't able to prove himself without his family. And that's when Grandpa's like, I was worried about your future. I thought you might like journalism, so I decided to make you editor of a newspaper at age 20. Like, what?
I was worried about your future. You were only in college. So I had to buy you this. He doesn't seem this upset. Like, honestly, I was expecting a bigger reaction from Nate, but later on, he's just pouting in his desk, like, it is what it is. Yeah, he still got it. So.
And then Grandfather's like, and if we're being honest, I thought I could control the press about Trip. And so Nate asked Grandfather why he's coming clean, and Grandfather's like, the editorial that Nate did. You know, it made him realize that Nepo Baby Nate is actually the person who knows what direction the Vanderbilt family needs to go in if they're going to continue to be leaders, not Trip. So I think that's like Grandfather said the right thing. Nate's like, so I'm the best grandson, not Trip? Okay,
that's what he
I'll
heard.
Stay.
Yeah, that's got to be it, too.
Boy.
I'm the best boy. I'm the best Nepo Baby. And so,
do you think that every single article that Nate writes is it just looks like he fell asleep on the keyboard and he hands it to his main editors like, what do you think of this shit? And they're like, it looks great, Nate. And they have to like write an entire article from scratch every single time he hands something in.
He takes the piece of paper and the crayon and scribbles and puts it
every
up on
time,
the fridge and he goes,
there you go.
I posted it live.
Yeah, every time he hands in something, it's the same exact instructions to the hookah that he's been trying to figure out since high school. Copy and paste. And that's when, Grandfather's like, I hope you reconsider, I'm sorry, was it Trip that told you this? He's always wanted me to take him to Camp Allen. He was pretty upset when I invited you over him. And it's like, you never asked Trip? And, which, again, this is very comical. Every family member is just nonstop lying to Nate. He has no idea what's going on. As everyone knows, it seems like everyone just knows in the family that they can just say whatever the hell they want to Nate, and he'll just eat it up. It's like it's a funny turn of events. I don't know if the show is even trying to be funny, but it's very funny that every time Nate's family walks in, they tell him something completely contradictory to what he heard last time, and then he just completely believes it. I don't know if Grandfather's telling the truth. Who knows? But
we'll find out later. But
so simple.
Either way, it's just endearing that Nate just is like, oh, thanks, okay. He'll just believe anything you say to his face. He's always been that way. We were just talking recently to a friend of the show, Mel Got Served, and she was saying that potentially Nate is one of her favorite characters in the show. And this for me is an episode that is like a great case for that theory of it being a favorite character. But it's definitely putting on a good show right now of just Nate being good guy Nate from start to finish of the series.
Yes. And so Grandfather exits, and Max enters without an appointment or anything. People need to stop letting this man into buildings. How does he keep getting into places? And then Nate aggressively asks Max what he wants. He's not too happy that Max accused Charlie of being an imposter, and so he already knows why Max is here. And Nate asks Max why he should believe him, and Max doesn't have an answer, so he leaves, and that was kind of a waste of everyone's time.
Most of Max's plot is a waste of everyone's time, except for it just like, I guess, sparks Charlie to get spooked later on. But otherwise,
that's a big one.
Yeah. But I get for Max, he doesn't really get anything. He gets like $5,000 or something. He gets like some money to go back home or whatever. So for his own sake, it's really useless. Yeah, it's like I did what I had to do. I'm out of here.
It really fizzles out.
Yeah, really stupid. But he's amazing this episode at just appearing out of nowhere at the perfect place and the perfect time. I guess that's something that you learn in chef school or something.
Yes. So.
But he just keeps forgetting about him, and then he's like, haven't left yet.
And another thing. Here I am.
And they're usually like, who
listen
are you?
To my story.
Yeah.
No,
Will you give me $50,000? No.
Do you know who Charlie Rhodes is? Do you want to give me money for me to tell you who Charlie Rhodes is? Who the fuck are you? Why isn't this working? Dan and Serena are on the phone.
He's from Florida.
Yeah. The paparazzi are swarmed outside of Dan's house because they're tracking Gossip Girl, who's tracking Blair to his door. And Serena thinks this was all a huge mistake. She doesn't think it's the time for Dan to be throwing his hat in the ring because she is still engaged to Louis, and there's also the whole Chuck thing. Now, as you were saying, Serena might be saying this because she's all of a sudden into Dan again, but she does have a point. What is this, like a love pentagon now? We need a diagram.
Yeah. Every time that Serena does have a point, which is very rare, it's also because of her own self-interest. Every single time.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But she's right. But I also think but from what we see so far, Dan isn't really planning on doing anything anyway.
Well,
That's the way it ends up anyway.
Well, Dan says here, he's like, listen, even if it's a disaster, it's my disaster, which is this a good point, or is Dan just like being selfish?
I think he's just telling Serena to shut up.
Well, he says he's going to go through it here. And Serena says that unlike Dan, she has Blair's best interest at heart, which we will see is false in 1 second. And so Louis, at that moment, shows up at the penthouse. And so Serena is going to be like petty. And she's like, all right, fine, Dan. I'm going to help someone else get their happy ending then. And so now Serena is a Blair and Louis shipper because she's into Dan. Like, she wants to rip Blair away from Dan. So she's going to shove her into the arms of Louis, or at least try to. So in my eyes, Serena is a big liar who doesn't actually have Blair's best interest at heart if she's going to insert herself and like try to make Louis win the battle for Blair's heart.
Yeah, I don't think Serena really had Blair's best interest at heart.
Maybe one time. I'm sure she has.
I feel like I will say I think it was more about keeping Dan at bay, and Louis was there. He was in front of her. So he's like, all right, you come. You get to be with Blair.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think Serena will do what's best for Blair if it doesn't affect Serena at all.
Yeah. I mean, and she's making we're trying to make Blair make a life-changing decision. And just because she wants to, like, get with Dan again.
Maybe kiss Dan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Charlie is back at work. She drops by to say hello to Nate, and Nate's thrilled to see a friendly face. He fills Charlie in that Max dropped by earlier, trying to sell her story. He was looking for money, seemed pretty desperate. But don't worry, because he kicked him out. He just thought that Charlie should know. And he also fills in Charlie that he may be able to make her party tonight after all, because he just found out that the only reason he got his job is because Grandpa bought the Spectator. He's so upset. He thought he was doing great work. He was actually proud of himself for once, and now he just feels like a fraud. And Charlie's me and Charlie are in agreement here. At this point, I was like, Nate, come on, stop being so hard on yourself. He did write that editorial that everyone in the world loved. Like, he may have gotten the job because of nepotism, but he is seemingly still doing a great job. Like, all of his employees love him. They gave him a standing ovation in like the very last episodes. Spectator's doing great, and Charlie pretty much says that to make the
you're here now, and you just keep doing the job. What are you going to quit and go back to school? Just keep working.
Yeah, and Charlie gives Nate her mantra. She says, if you want to be that person, own it and never look back. So great pep talk from Charlie.
Be the fraud that you are.
Exactly. And who would know better than Ivy Diggins?
Mm-hmm. I would like the two of them together. I think we hinted at it early in the season, and it didn't work out because of old lady Diana Payne. But I could see a world where these two are together.
Diana's coming back, baby.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was in high school, once we were done with Dan after season like 2.5, end of season 2, I was like, Nate and Serena are my end game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good together too because they're similar.
They're both just kind of lovable little airheads with cotton between their ears who are just like happy to be there. They have a nice time. They're both blonde.
Exactly. Yeah, they were good together.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't hate the Serenade pairing.
It's sort of crazy to think there's a world where Blair was so in on Nate, like to a point where that was like the only person that she could.
That's nuts. How we start the series. Blair and Nate are the ones that have been together forever.
You know what? I will never think. I've heard the One Republic song, what you said. I've never listened to it. Oh wait, Too Late to Apologize. Sorry, I have not listened to that song. Sorry, the What You Say comes before the Too Late to Apologize. Okay. Never thought of that song any differently, and to think that was Nate. Nate.
And like Nate, now we've gotten to the point where Nate's like the only person on the show that's not in love with Blair. So how different this
it really is funny.
So Lily is. Imagine Nate just wakes up and he's like, my time in high school with Blair was pretty fun. Yeah. You know what? I'm in love with her, too.
I love her. They don't even really interact anymore.
Blair, I want to take care of your baby. So I'll give him a job. I'll give him a job at the Spectator.
The baby.
Lily's at the Empire. She's using Chuck's suite to set up. She hopes to see Chuck later. She tries to get Chuck to change his mind about going to the party by saying that Blair isn't attending, but Blair's schedule is of no interest to Chuck. It's very nice getting a Lily-Chuck scene here. for the first time in a while. Lily can't help but be motherly towards him, and she can't help but worry about Chuck with the wedding getting closer. Even though Chuck assures Lily that he's fine, he says it's nothing that can't be fixed by a night of scotch and rogue socialites. Love that these two have such an open mother-son relationship.
Yeah, that's funny.
Where he's asking his mother figure to
I do
send
love
him rogue
them together.
socialites. Yes. No, yeah, I
Sending
always
people
love
to
this
fuck.
pairing.
And it's so great. I never get tired of these scenes, honestly. They're always endearing
No,
and
we
sweet.
haven't gotten enough of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. She says, no matter how dark or ugly your thoughts are, you're never alone. Even though Chuck is playing it cool, it's definitely something that he needed to hear, and he appreciates it. But he tells Lily that she has no idea what she'd be taking on, and Lily's pretty much like, try me, bitch. Like, you don't scare me. And she says, I'm sorry to inform you that my love for you is unconditional, which is something that she, without a doubt, never said to Serena or Eric, but she is always saying it to
No,
Chuck.
no. It's nice.
So true. And you know what? That's something that Blair should be thinking about Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
very conditional.
Yeah, his
so
love
many
is very
conditions.
conditional.
Right.
There's like contracts. There's so many conditions.
Yeah, Lily famously learned how to be mother with the kids that weren't her kids. Between now with
Yeah.
Chuck and then now Charlie, she seems like a pretty good mom too.
Oh yeah.
Hence the
Anyone
whole
who's not
episode.
her biological child. Yeah.
She loves him.
So Chuck compares unconditional love to the tooth fairy or environmentally friendly dry cleaning. Chuck has a way
Very
with
similar
similes, I
thing.
guess. Yeah. Fuck, marry, kill. Unconditional love, the tooth fairy, or environmentally friendly dry cleaning.
Okay, fuck the tooth fairy.
Oh, the tooth fairy's fucking
That was
hot.
hypothetical. Sorry. That was
Obviously.
hypothetical.
Are you talking about the
I think
Rock
we
right
can all
now?
agree that we're fucking.
We're all
Fuck
fucking
the
the
tooth
Rock.
fairy as played by Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I'd marry environmentally friendly dry cleaning. That seems like a good marriage.
And you kill unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
That's
Kill
fair.
It.
It could,
Yeah,
it could
who
be. Yeah,
needs
it could be problematic.
I don't know. We're fucking tooth fairy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Fuck the tooth fairy. Kill unconditional love. So
Yeah, who needs
Lily
it?
tells Charles he may only be her son through marriage, but she's always considered him her own, and she hopes he gets to feel that love for someone someday. God, I love Lily.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them together. It's such a necessary.
This one's
thing for
especially
Chuck.
nice because Chuck's in a good place mentally right now where he can receive this love and not be an asshole back to her, where he usually is in like a dark place, which is why she's having these talks with him. And now he's just being himself in a good way.
Therapy, man. Therapy does wonders.
Yeah. Especially if you're not fucking your
So-
therapist.
Well, yes, that's sometimes you have to go through some therapists
Yeah.
to
Get
find the
someone
one
to
you don't
tell
want to fuck. Yeah, Brent.
It's about the show, I swear. It's about the show.
Okay.
So, Louis and Serena now. Louis hasn't heard from Blair in weeks, and he's losing his mind. But Serena is here to help. Even Louis is confused as to why Serena wants to help him, and she's like, "It's because of Blair. It's because I'm doing this for Blair." And he's like, "You are you? Is like even he's like, is this what's right for Blair? Okay, sure."
Yeah.
So, she wants Blair to be happy and for all of her dreams to come true. And she's saying that Louis is the one that can do that for her. So either Serena does not actually know her best friend and, potential love interest Blair at all, or Serena is trying to, lying to herself subconsciously, just trying to make Dan available for herself. Don't know if she's doing this consciously or not, but certainly not exactly Blair's best interest here.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's still
always
conscious.
consciously.
Always. Yeah, that's true. She tries to pretend
always
it's not, but
consciously.
it's pretty at the forefront of her mind.
So
And Dan looks good right now. He's in a good phase of the show where he's got the flow and the good chiseled jawline.
listen, you don't have to tell me twice.
Do you think? I don't know if you have this ranking ready for us, but do you have a ranking of
Here we go.
Dan's looks per season?
First season, no, that's something I should have looked into. I'm sorry. I failed.
Because I off the top of my head, I feel like he's
Totally
gotten
did
better
that
looking as it
time.
goes along.
Dan's looking good now.
Yeah.
I will give that to
Yeah.
you. He's
This is peak
he
Dan.
definitely is.
He looks
It's
a
peak
little
Dan.
greasy and tired, but I think it works on him somehow.
Hey, it works. It works for him, baby. Whatever
Yeah.
works.
He might be like peaks looks wise, but personality wise, he's like mid to low.
Okay,
Well,
that's
in most
fine.
of- Agree to disagree.
So Louis does not know where Blair is. Luckily, Serena does, as we cut to Blair still at the loft. And Blair gives Dan the news that apparently there's some risks that even Chuck Bass isn't willing to take. And Blair is like, yeah, so I guess problem solved. And Dan's like, oh, congratulations, as Blair is on the verge of crying. And Dan, very sweetly gives her a hug. And did you also have a problem with this, Sarah? You mad at Dan hugging Blair here?
Don't touch her.
No touching. No touching.
It's a nice moment between friends. He hugged her. She needed a hug.
It's a friendly hug.
Yeah, but he like sniffed her hair. It was
You
weird.
have to sniff Blair's hair. If you're gonna hug her at all, you might as well sniff.
He's
I
probably
would-
like,
I'm a big hug sniffer. If I'm hugging you, you're getting sniffed.
Good thing
I'm
this
the
is
opposite.
virtual.
I exhale when I'm hugging. I will.
I've been sniffing anyway, just to see if I can get a whiff over here.
Yeah. Anytime I see Matt, we just have a firm handshake.
Yep. Very firm. Very firm.
Ugh. Sniffs his hand.
Yeah.
Oh, Brendan, you freak. So Dan finally suggests that Blair does not marry Louis. Great idea. And then Blair's like, "What? And be alone?
Aw.
Well, Blair, you're 21. You're not going to die alone. Calm down. Get out of here."
Yeah.
What do you mean, don't marry Louis? You want me to be alone forever? And Dan asks Blair what she really wants, and Blair says to be happy, but she doesn't think she knows how anymore. And so Dan tells Blair he thinks he knows how to make her happy. And at this point they're setting this up.
He drops trowel.
Maybe maybe Dan's gonna confess his love for Blair. Is that where you thought this was going, Brendan?
No, there's just been too much lead up for the Chuck stuff. He's really been
Wow, you're too smart. You're like Rufus. I think it's by you.
I am a lot like Rufus.
In many ways, as you're chomping on that waffle.
I had pancakes yesterday. I don't know. Does he approve of pancakes, or there are not enough craters in those things?
Waffles. Gotta be waffles.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
has to be waffles. Has to be. If you like waffles, you hate pancakes. Famously.
Yeah. No, I was onto this. I don't think I was onto exactly how it shook out and what Dan did, but I didn't really expect him after the Blair groveling over Chuck for him to be like, well, check me out. It didn't make
Brendan,
sense.
You're so smart. You're so smart.
Thanks, I guess. I wasn't gonna say it.
Trip talks to Grandfather on the sidewalk. Grandfather's pissed at Trip for undermining him, and Trip is pissed that Grandfather has decided that Nate is the future of the family instead of Trip. And whereas Nate is upset when he finds out that Grandfather's supporting him, Trip desperately wants to be the Nepo baby of the family. He's practically begging Grandfather to back him so he can still win the election. He's like, "Come on, Dad." Oh, no, sorry, not even Dad. "Come on, Grandpa, you got it. You got to be my Nepo Grandpa. You got it."
Yeah, you can make it. I want this election so you can make it happen for me. Just do it. Just do it for me.
Do it. Come on, Grandpa.
Do you think it's that since Nate is the youngest one, he's like, well, Trip is old hat now. He's getting up there in age. It's Nate's time to shine, and then I'm gonna focus on him.
Trip is 28 now, and he's not even a governor.
He's not even the president. Like, I don't think he understands how that
I'm
works.
sure, yeah. Trip being in his mid to late 20s, and everyone's like, he's practically dead
washed
in the
up.
grave.
He's washed up.
There's nothing
That's
left.
So Grandfather's mind is made up. He confirms that he's going to camp with Nate this weekend, and apparently Max is just weirdly spying on these two because he's still trying to find anyone of note who will listen to his story. And he gets Congressman Tripp's attention and tells him that he thinks they can help each other. And then Tripp responds in the most obvious way possible when he's like, "I'm sorry, who are you?" And
Yeah,
Max, who the fuck are you? What are you doing?
Because sometimes we have those moments where it's someone that the character should know, and it's funny because like that's crazy that you don't know that it's there's no reason why Tripp should know who this guy is.
No, not a reason at all for him to just walk up to him. And then Max is like, "I'm like you, man. I'm sick of being pushed around by these people." And
I would be scared. I would be really scared right now if I was Tripp.
Tripp is these people. You two are not the same. What are you talking about?
He's so dumb. I guess when he says these people, he means the non-judgmental Breakfast Club. Specifically.
Yes, but it's not like Nate's not doing anything to Tripp. It's Grandfather that's doing it.
Well, Nate just won't buy he won't buy it from him, so he's bad.
To Max, yeah, but
Yeah.
whatever. We don't have to dissect this any further.
Right, producer Beebop was whining and saying,
Yeah. Bebop wants us to move
Moving on.
Thank you, Bebop.
Thank you, Bebop.
He's over here pawing at my knee, saying, "Pay attention to me."
Saying, "Let's move this along, please." Louis is pounding on Dan's door, and look who has also shown up. It's Chuck Bass, and now all the utensils are here for a menage a quatch. And however, this does not deter Chuck that Louis is here. He tells Louis, "I suppose I'm here for the same reason as you are." And then he says, "The Prince and the Pill Popper. This should be fun, shall we?" Love the attitude here. Where Chuck's like, "Okay, you're here too. Let's do it. I don't care."
Let's do. It makes sense. If they were to walk in here and she was there, which one do you want? Pick right now. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's how it would be. They'd walk in. Which one do you want?
This would
Pick.
have been the perfect moment to get a "I'm Chuck Bass" moment.
Yeah.
That
He
would've
used to
been
throw
good, yeah.
that into at least once an episode.
Yeah.
And you know what? Love it every time. Every time you're just like,
Yeah,
Chuck
you
Bass.
are Chuck Bass. You are Chuck Bass.
Welcome
And
to
you know
Chuck
what?
Bass,
That
bitch.
was the moment. Yeah, that was the moment to be Chuck Bass.
That's right. So I like no one's answering the door, but luckily since Dan and Chuck are besties now, Chuck knows
That's
where
so
Dan
funny.
hides
What
his spare
a fun
key.
wrinkle. I love that.
Yeah, so he gets the key, they go inside, but no one is there. Louis is still confused, asks where she would go, but we don't know yet. But it is time for the event of the week, of course, the big party for Charlie. We get another great cameo here from Matthew Lynch covering the party for Women's Wear Daily. Glad we got to get him into the mix for a second. And that's pretty much it. Except Charlie, I guess, thanks Lily for the party, says that, can't believe she's doing this for her. And then Lily tells her their family, which Lily, again, really good at telling people what they need to hear. Like, this is, unbeknownst to her, exactly what Charlie needs to hear, that she is part of this family.
Yeah, and Charlie looks great. She's a great dress. She's almost like the opposite of Serena because she wears tasteful clothing and looks good at her parties. And Lily, again, her being a great mother to her non-child. So funny to me, though, still that this is like the event of the week, and this plot is such an afterthought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've had so many debutante balls.
Yeah,
so many.
Yeah.
Like,
so much
you know
like
what?
Trip,
they were
this is
all
old
better
hat.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like, we don't. Do we care about her having her debut? No.
No,
Not exactly.
I don't. No.
But all these plots
Past
are
high
just to
school.
service the Blair and Chuck of it all anyway. So
Right.
we go back to Dan and Blair. Dan, it looks like he's going for it. He leads Blair blindfolded in a room filled with candles. Brendan, you still didn't think that Dan was going to confess something here?
I don't know actually.
Even with the
maybe you're
candles?
right. Maybe with the candles.
Okay.
Or maybe he's gonna kill her.
Alright. When did he set this up? Like, what is? First of all, what exactly? This seems to be just a room inside, like the Empire, where they're having the party for Charlie. But also, like, I don't know how he snuck Blair into this. Like,
I don't know.
I don't understand how any of this happened. When he set up all these candles, like, what's going on here?
And why did
how
it have
he
to be
knows about
here?
this room.
If he's going to bring her anywhere,
know.
he should have brought her to a bar mitzvah.
Well, obviously. And then Blair also notably did not suggest that they should keep the blindfold, like perhaps Julie and Caleb would.
Yeah. Noted juju.
So yeah, apparently Dan just led her through the party with a blindfold on her face, and no one noticed. And then also, Blair's just like screaming at him to take the polyester rag off of her face. Which, why did Blair
She's
agree
good.
to this? Yeah, but why'd she agree to it in the first place if she was going to scream about it? Or like, did Dan just do this against her will? Did he just like, I know it's going to make you happy, and then like shove the polyester rag on her face and carried her to this room?
I
Yeah,
generally think that is somewhat what happened.
Probably.
It might have
Yeah.
been. Blair asks, who doesn't have a silk blindfold in their bedside table? Not me. I don't know.
It's
if you
right
guys
next to
have
my appendix over here.
silk. All right, everyone, take out your silk blindfolds. We'll do the
And dip it in your appendix water.
So
Yum!
Dan takes the blindfold off, and Blair continues to be hilarious. She's like, "You brought me to watch a human sacrifice or an episode of The Bachelor. Either way, I am not happy."
Well, those are the two things I was thinking. I didn't think it was Dan confessing his love. It had to be one of those two things.
Yeah, you thought it was an
Two of
episode
my
of The Bachelor.
other favorite interests.
Yeah, I think I would rather.
It may be shocking.
I think I'd rather watch an episode of The Bachelor than a human sacrifice if I had to pick between the two.
What about Human Centipede?
Depends on if
God, why do we keep talking about the human centipede so much?
I was going to transition to whether it's the Golden Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise. May
Or the
shock you.
Human
I'm a long
Centipede.
time watcher.
No,
Or the Human
listen,
Centipede, honestly.
or the human
similar.
centipede. How come the human
Human
centipede?
Centipede
hasn't been on The
probably less
Bachelor yet?
racist.
I mean, I've never
The
seen
monstrosity
Human
of five
Centipede,
people
but-
sewed together as one contestant on The Bachelor.
Or is the human centipede the Bachelor, and the human centipede's finally looking for love?
Maybe,
Crossover
just
we all
maybe.
needed.
I think
And
this
if
has
that thing
legs.
can
I
find
think-
love, there's no hope
I think this
for
has
anyone.
maybe 10 legs.
I mean, that would send me into a depression. Like, oh god, even the human centipede is falling in love, and I still have no one.
Listen, our girl Gypsy Rose is out there being in jail, fully dating, getting married in the time that she was incarcerated to come out to a marriage. We're all trying our best.
Right? Yeah, that's the moral of that story. So Dan tells Blair she's totally safe. The paparazzi has no idea where she is, and Blair still has a ton of questions. But Dan's just like, just trust me. And she says that she doesn't.
When
And
Dan
Dan's
says
like,
that,
well,
I trust Dan.
well, Dan goes, you don't really have a choice, and then he leaves her there. And I would have been like, what the fuck? What do you mean? What is he, like Jigsaw, locking her in a room now?
Pretty much, yeah.
Sometimes the only way with Blair, you just gotta sass her at her own game and then just be like, no,
Yeah, I
this is
guess.
how it is. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's
see.
innate in me, but really, when someone does say trust me, I do trust them.
All right. Well, good to know.
Uh-oh.
I'll keep that in mind.
Interesting.
Okay, when you do get a blindfold for me, make sure it's silk, though, please. Not even kidding.
Yeah. So
Will
Max
be,
is still
trust
like
me.
Max is still stalking Nate. He shows up. He's like, I'm gonna get someone to buy this story, and Nate's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure no one lets you in. And like, all right, great talking to you. Thanks.
And that's the end of him.
Why would Max bring himself to Nate's attention if he was gonna try to sneak in? Why'd he be like, hey, Nate, I'm here. I'm gonna try
to get
tell my
right in
story."
there. I'm gonna get in there. He's like, all right, I'll make sure you can. Like, shit. All right, see you around 8.
Damn it! Can I have some money to go back to Portland?
No. Fuck. All right. I'll ask somebody else.
All right.
His whole episode is just him just asking different people for money until he gets a little bit of it.
This guy signed a contract to be on 6 episodes, and we don't really have anything for him to do for this 6th episode. So I guess we'll just have him walk around and ask people to buy his story. So Nate gets Charlie's attention. He can't stay, but he needs to give her the heads up about Max, that he's selling his story. And he says that, a story's a story. It could take on a life of its own, so it doesn't matter if it's true or not. And at that moment, Serena is also talking to her bestie, Louie, on the phone, and has found out that Blair was not at Dan's. So she has Charlie and Nate, if anyone has seen Blair or Dan. And Dan's at the party. I did not realize at this point that the secret room was a room, like, within the party. So I was like, how did Dan get here so fast?
Of course, it's got to be the party.
Yeah. So
Dan's in this era where he's at all these events wearing a flannel. He's been doing this all season long. He's just not supposed to be there, and he's just heavily underdressed.
And Chuck's harassing him, trying to find out what Blair is, and Dan responds to Chuck by opening the door to reveal Blair. Again, don't know how we knew about the secret room, what this place is, but I do love that while Serena was trying to make Blair's life worse by helping Louis so that she could get with Dan, Dan was actually, being a good friend, making Blair's life better by selflessly giving up his chance with her to bring her together with Chuck.
And again, he doesn't really have a chance with her.
Well, okay.
But yeah, it is selfless.
I don't know if it was selfless.
Selfless-ish.
It was selfless.
Selfless adjacent.
I think he was just kind of like, well, let's just see what happens. Like, if you love something, let it go.
Well, look at what Serena's doing.
It's better than Serena, yeah. But like, if I can't totally bone her, then I guess might as well help her.
He's like, I want to let Blair choose me. Both Chuck and Dan are like, I just want Blair to choose me. And so that was Dan's moment of being like, okay, go ahead to Chuck and figure it out.
But also in a way, too, him doing this is sort of like him getting some attention from her in a twisted way as well. Like, look how good this thing I did to you. Isn't that so nice of me? Am I your best friend?
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 ways to handle this.
Quintessential nice guy.
Well,
like,
yes. Okay,
I'm so nice. Why doesn't anyone want to date me?
There's 2 ways to handle this. You could say, oh, she doesn't want to bone me. If I can't bone her, might as well help her. Or if I can't bone her, then no one can bone her. And Dan chooses the right option. Serena wouldn't choose that option.
Wait, what would the second option have been? He actually was going to set her on fire in that room?
Yeah, knock the candles over and say, game over, as he closes the door.
That's a fun option.
So, and closes the door behind them. Doesn't say game over, but it is funny, though. Like, he puts Chuck in his room, closes the door, and walks away, doesn't say anything to anyone, and walks away like he just committed a murder. Like, he looks so disgruntled. He's just...
Because he might have.
He might have.
So while everyone else is trying to figure out what happened, Nate tells the crew that it looks like Dan is helping Chuck and Blair finally be together. And Serena sees this and needs to get wasted. Then Nate just starts, like, thinking out loud, where he's like, man, really hope the paparazzi don't find out that Blair's here, because then the whole empire will be stormed and it'll ruin the whole party. And Charlie's like, paparazzi? Party? Shut down? Interesting. And Nate just keeps going. He's like, yeah, especially if they found out specifically that through Gossip Girl that Chuck and Blair were both here, that would not be good for this party and something disastrous.
So we can trace fault of Chuck's death all the way back to Nate at this point. It's not even Charlie's fault anymore. It's totally Nate's fault.
He's like, God, I really hope someone doesn't do exactly this, what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
See, bad things happen when Nate thinks.
Exactly. That's why Nate should just stop with the thinking, stop trying to read, just take your crayons and edit the spectator. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
So Blair asks what's going on, and Chuck tells Blair that he had nothing to do with this. Dan set it up for them, and now that he's here, he's gonna go for it. He says, "The us that I should have fought for when you called, the us that is not just you and me, but you, me, and your baby." And Blair's confused as to why Chuck told her to choose Louis, and that's when Chuck says he thought it was selfish if he was the one to tell Blair to break up her family. Look at everyone being so selfless in this episode. Everyone except Serena.
Yeah, what do you expect? If anyone's going to be selfish, it's going to be
That's exactly
Serena,
what I expect.
yeah.
Yeah. So Blair's like, "This is the moment you choose to not be selfish," and Chuck points out that timing has never been their strong suit, which is putting it lightly. And that's when Chuck tells Blair that she should be with him, even though the baby is Louise, because he is going to love that baby as much as he loves Blair. And Brendan, I know you're sick of Chuck and Blair, but with this making you swoon at least a little bit?
No, this is good because this is like
Sarah's
something.
currently
This is
swooning
something
right now,
different.
so.
This is nice. We haven't.
Dancing.
It's also been enough of a break where we haven't gotten the two of them confessing their love to each other in a long time. There has been some timing issues and some other issues of glass breaking on Blair's face and all that good stuff. So it's
Right.
been a long time coming. So this finally, my bubble bursting felt good.
All right. Okay, I'm glad you put it in that way.
It's just
Moment.
the way he came into the room and he's like, timing was always our strong suit. And
Yeah.
you if you are
really
17 years old,
Yeah.
you're 30
We
years old. You're just like, the line delivery is horrific, but it's so bad but you're still like,
It works, baby.
Yeah, it works. He's been pretending he doesn't like her for the whole season now too. So it's been good to know that he's been like edging himself all season long, and he's like,
yes.
fine,
And the
I can
audience.
finally say it. I really love you.
Blair, I've been edging myself all season. I have to tell you. I love you and your baby. So the moment's interrupted by a Gossip Girl blast. Someone sent a blast that Blair is here with Chuck and doesn't want any photos of them before she tells Louis. Or Nate, I don't. At this point, I'm like, why do you? Who cares? Like, let people take photos of you and Chuck. You're gonna break up with him anyway. Like, this is
Right.
nonsense. But whatever. She wants to sneak out of here. And then Nate opens the door and is like, "Hey, I don't know if you guys saw, but I just mentioned that no one should send a Gossip Girl blast, and then someone sent the Gossip Girl blast. I don't know who did it, but maybe the one person I told not to. But yeah, so just want to make sure." You know about that. There's a car here waiting for me. And then Blair also has a car waiting for her. So they're all going to sneak out together.
And they take their town cars.
They take their town cars. They're riding
With
in
boys.
town cars with boys and Drew Barrymore.
And Drew Barrymore is the driver.
Yep. I'm glad you noticed the cameo. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she was the one actually going to the airport.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That'll be one of the very few cameos we've actually recognized on the show.
Lily wants to make a toast. She gets everyone's attention as the paparazzi are aggressively taking photos from the back of the room. I don't know. I feel like they could have gotten better security to not let them in, but instead they just get tackled after they take some pictures. And Lily jokes that they must really want a shot of the new It Girl, and everyone laughs because ha ha ha, who cares about Charlie? Why would we take pictures of her? And so, and then also Blair, Chuck, and Nate just quietly walk by with no one noticing them. How did
Was this a dig by Lily saying I know you're not taking pictures of this girl. You don't care about this bitch. Or was she genuinely thinking oh, that's nice. I guess you care about the new It Girl.
No, I think she was joking. I think the paparazzi are obviously here. To
fully.
take
That's
pictures
more
of
Lily.
Blair.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So Lily says a few words about the new It Girl. Tells the crowd she hopes they get to know her, even though she didn't grow up in New York City. So she is a redneck because she isn't from New York City.
A
Country
loser.
bumpkin, loser.
Yeah. So Blair and Chuck and Nate have successfully snuck out, and Nate tells them, "Took you long enough." And I'm not talking about the walk from the lobby to here, which, man, that was a really, really great line for
Nice one,
for
Nate. I'm glad
That's
Nate's
really good.
a chair sipper.
He's a Chuck and Blair. Yeah, he's a chair shipper. So
He better be. He's
Nate
been living
gets-
with Chuck for 5 seasons.
yeah. Nate gets in a car and leaves, and Blair and Chuck get in the other car and leave, and we see that there's some I don't know, what was this, gas or oil or whatever.
I don't know what that was
happens
supposed to be. I was like,
Chuck and Blair
did
leave. They,
someone piss on their way
Really
into the
late?
It
car?
was I think it was brake fluid.
yeah, they definitely.
How
linger
the
on
hell
it
are we
as if
supposed to
it's
know what?
something.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know much about cars, so if I saw a little
I-
oil
Yeah, we're New
leakage,
Yorkers. We know nothing about
Yeah,
cars.
exactly.
No.
But I
don't
just
know what
assumed-
to
Because
think
the
about
two
that,
things
but,
I would have thought would be oil or gas, but it didn't look like enough fluid to be gas, and then the car wouldn't have gone anywhere,
No.
so that would have made sense. And the oil
Yeah,
thing,
they zoom
I don't
in
know
on
what that
it.
does to the car if you
You
don't have
zoom
oil.
in on it
Uh-oh, you don't know what that means.
About cars, right in. Yeah.
Just know
So
it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's-
Obviously, you had no idea
right.
what was happening, Brendan. But when I saw this, because I famously have seen these episodes before, I did not realize that this was this episode. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh boy,
Oh, boy.
here we go. Here we go. Should have known when Sarah said she wanted to come on that there'd be a car crash.
I was like, I thought so little
Oh,
of
yeah.
that dribble, that fluid, that when the car crash did happen, I still didn't like jump back to that moment and be like, oh, that was the whatever fluid. I didn't think about it until we just started talking about it because it was so
Thank God
so nothing.
we brought it up.
Yeah, good thing.
So
I feel
Serena
like
sits at the
well,
bar. Oh,
setting it up. Oh, sorry. I was going to say is it's like setting up for going wrong because they truly have been making Blair Princess Diana this whole time.
yes.
Ever since she started dating the American, the one coming into it, and how she starts to be so like, I'm doing things for these people, and everybody is seeing me, and little girls look up to me. That as soon as they got into the car and there was something wrong, like, they switched cars, and it's about to go down.
Oh yeah. So Serena sits at the bar next to Dan. She asks if he's okay. Dan confirms that he is okay adjacent. And then they're going to do some more apologies. Serena apologizes for coming down so hard at him. But Dan tells her she's right. He was going to tell Blair how he felt, i.e. that he loves her. And as much as he does not want to love Blair Waldorf, how do you make a feeling go away? And Serena, ironically, fighting the same battle with her feelings with Dan right now, and tells him she doesn't know. So Dan thought that maybe professing his love for Blair would be the answer to how he would write his afterward. But when Blair got off the phone with Chuck, she was so heartbroken. And he said, I've been so consumed with my own feelings, I wouldn't let myself see how much she loves Chuck. And so Dan tells Serena that she was right. Blair didn't need his confession. She needed his help. And Dan did the right thing.
He figured it all
teaching
out.
Serena, unknowingly teaching Serena a lesson right now. And, I'm saying bravo. I know
Bravo.
I know the rest
I'll
of the
give
panel
him
hates Dan here. Yeah,
And
okay,
it's
great.
all thanks to Rufus.
It's all thanks to Rufus.
Like,
So
Dan, when I
now-
told you to go confess your love, I knew you'd do the right thing. I knew it all along.
Exactly. I noticed these things. I knew exactly what you're gonna do. And so, pretty well done by the show. Like they're showing us, Dan and Serena going through the same thing. Serena is the selfish one, and Dan chose correctly. And I guess they're both still miserable at the end of the day. So I don't know what lesson we're learning actually. But Dan thinks he can give himself a new ending by giving Chuck and Blair the ending they deserve, and he just wants Blair to be happy. And I really hope that Serena does feel shitty about herself.
I think she's finally starting to feel that way. It's good. It's good for her.
I also think that Dan cannot take any credit for it. He should not be the one being like, I created their love story. It goes all back to at the end of the day, he's like, it is about my feelings, and I
true.
did this for them, and I'm a good person.
Oh, and then Serena reinforces that. She says, Dan, you're one of the good ones. So,
Yeah.
Hopefully a little
So
consolation
back to the
prize for him.
Dan slander. I gave him a second.
Charlie answers another call from Max for some reason. You'd think she'd just have his number blocked by now, but
Yeah.
he's out of nowhere now. He's like, all right, I'm going to leave you alone. I got some money. I'm going back to Portland. Like,
Oh,
what was the
okay.
point of any of this?
So long.
So Max just randomly gives up, and it's like, what were we doing this whole time? But he tells Charlie once he leaves, she will not be free. She'll be trapped in this lie forever. And it's like, oh, you're really scaring her. I'm like, uh-oh. She's going to get exactly what she wants.
He's like, oh no. Great.
Yeah. She's like, I'm fine with that.
He's like, just like Nate, I worked hard here, and I couldn't be happier. So Max warns her that happiness will wear her off because no actress wants to play the same role her whole life. But it seems that Charlie is prepared to be a Rhodes for the rest of her life. More than just a role to her. This is her life. These people are her family.
Yeah, she likes it. I mean, she's getting a huge party thrown for her right now, just for living. So I would like
Exactly.
I'd like the opportunity to play the role of a really rich person. I think I could do it really well.
Love the role. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
play that role for life. I'd love that one.
Yeah, yeah, for life, great.
Yeah. Now, Brendan, in the very last episode we did, you predicted that Max would kill someone. Now, you predicted that he would kill. You predicted he would kill Charlie. But is it possible that he's behind the attempted Blair and Chuck murder?
I mean, he indirectly sort
he
of
the
is.
one that let the oil out? Well, that's true.
Yeah.
You don't think he's the one that let the oil out of the car or whatever happened to that car?
I don't know. I guess so.
You still
Yeah,
think
he
he'll
is.
kill Charlie?
I
Yeah.
nailed it. I
still
don't
think
think
Max will
I don't
kill
think he'll kill Charlie because I think this is his last appearance, is it not?
Now, I think so. I can't confirm that, but I think so. But now, how about this? Was the car crash murderer Rufus the one behind this? car
Oh
crash as well?
yeah, now we're back to
Trying to make sure Chuck is out of the
I'm
way,
back.
just like he did with his father, so that his son can get the dream girl just like he did.
Uh huh.
Rufus won't rest until he car crash murders every member of the Bass family and makes sure they're
That's right.
posthumously cucked.
Yeah,
But
that's his mark, because not only does he kill the Bass,
that is his
but
mark.
he makes sure that a Humphrey fucks their girl afterwards.
And
That's so
once we
true.
see the car crash scene, you do see Rufus and Trip running away together.
Eating chili.
Apples.
And then Trip's like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Oh, what were you gonna say before, Sarah?
Oh, also I was gonna say is like they would have had to conspire with Nate though. Rufus would have had to gone to
Yeah.
Nate because Nate.
Oh,
were in
and
the
that's
wrong
not
car,
like
so
Nate.
that was supposed to be
Yeah.
Nate
Well, they
in
probably
the
just
episode.
Yeah.
I think Rufus probably just like
They
turns
reveal.
Nate around, like spins Nate around once or twice and says, "That's your car," and then Nate goes into
This is
They're
a
okay.
blindfold.
Yeah.
He's got this- I don't think it's too easy to trick Nate here. So, speaking of Nate,
that clears it up.
he's in what he thinks is his car, and the driver notices that the paparazzi on motorcycles are aggressively chasing Chuck and Blair's car in front of them. Chuck and Blair are discussing their next moves. Blair has to tell Louis face to face that the wedding is off, and Chuck's still asking if she's sure, but he says that this is all she ever wanted. Chuck, not the prince, not the fairy tale. She just wanted Chuck. Which to that I say, "Aw, that's lovely."
Aw, so
You know,
sweet.
it's too bad Chuck's about to get murdered, but it's at least we have this.
You'll see
Yeah.
that a minute and 15 seconds into my YouTube compilation. That scene.
Timestamp for you guys.
That
So-
was one that kept replaying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. So Blair tells Chuck she loves him. She couldn't tell Louis that he would never lose her because it wasn't true. Chuck is the one she never wants to leave. And so they kiss, but the motorcycles are still after them. And Brendan, you must have been feeling a sense of dread here. Like, what's
Yeah,
going on with this motorcycle?
they're getting louder. It's a very aggressive scene, and you just feel like something's about to happen. You don't know. I don't know to what degree at this point. I didn't think what we get at the end is what was gonna happen. I've been actually calling for like a gunshot or a car crash recently too, so I'm glad we do get some
Yeah,
some
you've
action
been
like
wanting-
this.
You've been wanting some death on the show.
But it's been such a PG show as of late. I really didn't expect too much to happen. I thought maybe they're just gonna get more pictures of them through the windows, and that was gonna be like enough for them to be like, oh man,
want
like
some
Louis
pictures.
found out before I got to tell him. I thought that's all it was gonna be. I didn't think it was gonna be anything this drastic.
Oh. Well, Nate gets a call from Grandfather, and he tells Grandfather that he's a little late leaving, but he's on the way to Westchester Airport right now. And this confuses the hell out of the driver. He's like, "What? What do you mean Westchester? No,
Westchester?
no. That's not where I'm going. What are you talking about?" And so Nate's like, "Hold on, my driver's screaming at me right now. I'll call you back."
I don't remember him being that insane.
That's how I saw it.
Whoa, what the fuck? Fucking Westchester. Holy shit, bro. No.
Fuck is
No.
Westchester? I've never even heard of a Westchester.
I've been to Chester, sure. Yeah, but not Westchester. What the fuck?
Nate says
I mean,
that he
to
has
be
a
fair,
flight-
and go ahead.
No, you go on. You go ahead.
Oh, also, I was gonna say is it would be fair if a New York driver who was driving like the town car was like, "You want me to take you to Westchester? We'll go to Westchester."
I go as far as
And then,
Yonkers. That's it.
Yeah,
So Nate
would
hangs up.
not
He says
have taken the car.
he's got a flight out of Westchester in 45 minutes. So the driver says, "Oh, not a problem. Just need to turn around." So, Brendan, what happened here? What is Nate in? Nate's in the wrong car. Like, what? Why does his driver go in the wrong way?
I still
what
didn't pick
caused
up
this?
on this, too. I was like, I guess the driver's just stupid. Okay, that's fine.
You think that they just included a scene of the driver being stupid for no reason?
Yeah. Well, after this, I don't get a chance to catch up because so much happens. It just like the whole episode unravels right in front of you. So I'm like, whoa. Totally forgot about the stupid Westchester driver.
This is what a mid-season finale is.
Yeah, baby.
Exactly.
They don't
The
make
driver-
them like they used to.
It's true. The driver also points out, he's like, "Man, these motorcycles are really getting out of control." And Nate's like, "Yeah, what are they doing?" And we hear the crash, and Nate screams, "Oh my God!" And the next thing we see is Blair and Chuck's car crash into the side of the road. They've crashed into, I don't even know how to describe it. A little something that was enough to do a lot of damage to the car and
Like a
to the
tree?
people in the car. So it wasn't a tree. It was like it was a something. But Nate,
Like a little guardrail.
yeah, kind of. But there's a thing behind the guardrail. People that saw the episode, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Nate gets out of the car and runs over. So Brendan, I'm hoping you've been begging for a gunshot. You've been begging for a car crash. You got a car crash.
Yeah.
Are you finally excited?
I'm pumped up, but I do feel a little bit guilty only because of who was in the car with Blair and Chuck. I've also been saying I don't know how we're going to have this much of the show with Blair as a mother, and I'm like, did I curse Blair? And then this like killed her baby, because I know she's alive by the end of the episode, but they didn't say anything about the baby yet. I don't know how far along she even is at this point.
You may have retroactively cursed.
I may have cursed
that
the
baby,
baby. Yeah. I know Chuck's not dead, but
Hey, wait.
the baby
They
might
didn't
be
confirm
dead.
that.
They didn't
Who said
confirm
Chuck's
that.
not?
I said that.
Well, they didn't say anything.
No, Lily
Okay.
cried and made it seem like he is not.
Yeah.
She didn't say one way or the other, but she didn't make it look good.
He cries and then goes, Chuck is also recovered.
No, yeah, he's fine.
We're back in everyone's favorite hospital.
He survived the
Dan and
gunshot in
Serena-
the show, so he's fine.
It's true. So Dan and Serena come in, ask if Chuck and Blair are okay. Nate doesn't know, but he saw the whole thing and stayed with them till ambulances came. The EMT he spoke with said it's pretty bad. Lily's also here. She gets off the phone, tells Rufus that all 4 of Blair's parents are flying in on the next flight from Paris, which Eleanor was distraught, which understandable there. And the new it girl, Charlie, comes over to see how everyone's doing. This, as we said, episode did not really end up being all too much about the debutante party, which is fine. We had enough to get to without that. And Lily is staying strong for everyone and says, she's hoping for the best and she's going to try to get an update from the doctor. So Charlie, probably feeling pretty guilty right now since this, I can be argued that it's her fault. I won't argue it, but it can be argued.
Right, that's the position she's going to take. She feels horrible because she does care about these people. She doesn't know them very well, but they have become a version of family to her, so she takes it all upon herself.
Right. So Serena and Dan here. Serena says it's all Gossip Girl's fault because she didn't send out. If she didn't send out the blast, then this wouldn't have happened. And once again, Gossip Girl becoming too big of a character in this, affecting the action, killing people maybe indirectly. And Dan doesn't want to defend Gossip Girl, but he's like, "Oh, Gossip Girl didn't send the motorcycles." And Serena says she may as well have, because if Gossip Girl didn't exist, then Chuck and Blair would not be in the hospital fighting for their lives.
And everyone's like, "Yeah,
Now,
you're right. Yeah, I hate Gus. Take him down."
Let's do it. Even though we know that this car was tampered with somehow, because we saw the whatever fluid was
Right.
spilled.
And in my head too, like, if these paparazzi wanted to get after this that badly, they might have found a way to figure out where these two were. I don't think Gossip Girl, that wasn't the only way of the paparazzi to find him.
But it is the way that they did find them.
Right.
Those paparazzi just sits there on their phone being like, are they coming? They just keep waiting.
Just updating Gossip Girl.
As soon as they get there.
Refresh Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Serena's a woman on a mission now, because remember, she spent the whole day looking through Gossip Girl blasts, and she's like, it's unbelievable the amount of pain she's caused. And so this, she says, is a culmination of years of damage, and she tells Dan that she wants to finish what Diana started and take down Gossip Girl, and Nate's in on it too. He wants to use the Spectator to do it, and so I love that we did say that we don't love when Gossip Girl is like such a presence, but we do love when our characters come together to fight an outside source. So are you excited for this?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I'm excited.
Sarah's
I'm excited.
Okay, all
They're
right,
at their best when they're together.
absolutely.
Whatever
When
it
they're-
takes.
when they team up.
Yeah. You know
Charlie's
what?
pacing.
I don't know if this.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I
Yeah.
don't know if this is a hot take, but I miss Diana. I thought she was really fun. Obviously a source of conflict, but God, nobody can wear a bandage dress quite like her, like Elizabeth Hurley. Like,
Yeah. I'm a
Stay
fan.
tuned.
Yeah.
talent.
The last scene of this episode, because Diana might be making a comeback. But first, real quick, Charlie's pacing back and forth. Rufus comes over to do some parenting himself. He's finally out of the penthouse. He was allowed in the hospital. And Charlie says she's not okay because remember, it was Charlie herself that sent in the tip to Gossip Girl, which supposedly started all this. So Charlie tells Rufus it's all her fault. Rufus is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Charlie comes clean and says that she sent the Gossip Girl blast. She said she didn't do it to hurt Blair. She was just trying to protect herself. And Rufus is like, what do you mean? Max was the fraud. Why do you need to protect yourself against Max? And then Charlie doesn't explain, but she says, I'm sorry. I'm the fraud. And that's it. She just apologizes, and she's like literally trying to come clean here, and pretty shocking. We know that Charlie does have a heart. She isn't evil, so of course this is affecting her. But was not expecting her. Like, she does not give any details, and Rufus does not ask for any details because he doesn't really have the chance to, because that's when Lily comes over. But who knows? Who knows how much she could have spilled if she kept going with this conversation.
Right. It's funny. It's interesting because I feel like even if she got all of it out, she was trying to almost confide in Rufus and hope that he would be like, "Oh, it's all right. You can stay with us anyway. We love you, Ivy." I don't know.
I mean, that's her best chance.
Yeah.
I mean, she should probably say something like, "I love your waffles. I tagged your waffles, and I didn't want to leave the family.
I dip my waffles in chili every day. I
Daddy.
promise.
I understand." So that's when Lily comes over. Everyone gathers around, and Lily tells everyone the good news is that Blair's awake and responsive. And then Serena asks, what about Chuck? And Lily starts to cry. So we don't know what about Chuck. He's probably dead. To be
Probably dead.
determined. We're heading into a mid-season finale, so no one's safe. Charlie desperately calling Carol. She says, it's me, Ivy. I got to get out of here. I'm leaving tonight, and this time I'm not coming back. Very dramatic here. Rufus hugs Lily. Charlie leaves. The doctors all go rushing into someone's room. And then, what do we have here? Someone else gets a phone call, and it's our old friend, Diana Payne. Twists on twists on twists. We can't... You got to throw in some more twists in the last
You can't
minute
just
of this
kill a main
episode.
character. You got to bring Diana Payne in.
No. And the voice on the phone tells Diana there's been an accident. And she asks how bad. And he says he wouldn't take a risk like this if it wasn't serious. He had no choice. And then Diana says, of course, Jack. And tells him that she'll get on the next plane to meet them there. And then Jack thanks Diana. And Diana cryptically says it's not her he should thank. So Diana is in cahoots with Jack Bass.
I guess so. I didn't know.
Another twist.
I didn't know what.
These cliffhangers just keep on coming, baby.
Are we supposed to know what this is about?
No, of course not. We have no idea.
I was like, is Jack
Writers
behind
Writers
the
probably
brake
don't even know.
fluid?
Maybe. Who knows?
If we've learned anything, the Gossip Girl writers write to write, and then they figure it out.
And they figure it out
Right.
later.
But
They have all
Jack
winter to
passes
figure out.
back.
They have all winter what's happening to figure out what's happening next. So that's our episode. What the fuck is going on? What's happening next, Brendan? Do you have any predictions?
I don't know, but it is definitely Scream rules where if you don't see the body, not dead. So Chuck's coming back, obviously. I hope Charlie's not gone. I hope she doesn't just run away and feel guilty. And I don't want her to get exposed because I like her living here. I like her presence.
Remember, she's still main cast. So
Still main cast. That's
Hey,
that's on her
she's not
side.
going anywhere, baby.
I'm really fed up by her at this point.
No, I love
Not
her.
to be the
I love her.
contrarian again.
She was the only one giving life to this season, this whole first half of the season.
Yeah, she's been good. I like it. She didn't do much in this episode, but she doesn't bother me at all. Even if this is her every episode, I'm fine with her being here. It's very Nate-like.
People hate Charlie
I think
Ivy.
it's just like
I think she's an MVP of the latter seasons.
I think it's the characters who are just always constantly trying to like tell you how good they are, like Rufus and Ivy, that are like they are the ones too great for me because my favorite characters are Chuck and Blair, who are terrible
Right.
people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm with you on Rufus. I just don't.
take all
I
the
just-
joy away.
Charlie just wants a family. That's all she wants.
Yeah.
And she's got one.
Yeah, she
Well,
wouldn't be
had
an
one.
overall favorite for me, but she's not bad.
All right. Let's do these segments quickly. We have, of course, everyone's favorite. Nope, not everyone's favorite. Just my favorite. User review of the week. Comedy Fan is back. Gave this episode an 8 out of 10 and says, the main part of this episode was Blair trying to figure out if she wants to be with Chuck or Louis. I was actually sure that we will find out that Blair lied and it is Chuck's kid, but looks like they keep that a truth. After the ending was shocking. They had the accident. Guess they were inspired by Princess Diana. Now it looks like Chuck's life is in danger. Keep him alive. Not only Lily, but we all love him.
All right.
So thank you, Comedy. We do all
That's
love
the
Chuck.
spirit.
We do want him to stay alive. Next week, the episode is titled "The End of the Affair?" Brendan, do you have any predictions based on the episode title?
I guess Blair's like, well, I guess since Chuck's dead, I have to marry Louis. What are you gonna do?
And that's when Dan says, "And then also
Oh,
me."
but I could beat Louis though. Let me try again.
The preview says that Blair reveals to Serena what happened after the car crash. So we're gonna have to wait all winter to find out what happened after the car crash.
Wow. I assumed they went to the
Long winter
hospital.
it was.
Ugh, I'm sure. I was not watching this
Lot
live at the time, but I can
happens.
only imagine.
Yeah, it
Let's.
was. I want to say they waited until be like early December, and then I think it wouldn't come back till February, March.
Ugh,
It was a reasonable amount
that's-
of time.
that's
And
a
when you
disaster.
had
I
not
can't.
much going on in high school, except for your friend coming over on Monday nights to watch Gossip Girl.
This was it. This was everything for you. That must have
Yeah.
been really tough.
Poor thing.
Well,
Let's grade the
it,
episode.
it strengthened me and
We can tell. Yes.
made me
Made you the
better.
woman you are today.
Yeah.
So, Brendan, I went first last week, so you can go first this week. What are you grading the episode?
This is a famously not mid episode. It is really good. It's quite above that level. Really enjoyed this one for the first time in a while. This is such a classic Gossip Girl episode in the way that it just throws so much shit at the fan and sees what sticks. It's a little crazy, a little kooky, but that's what I've been missing from the show. It's been kind of boring for a long time. The fact that Charlie has been carrying the season says a lot about the season in its own right. This felt like days of old, and I'm glad that there was enough on the bone here to go to a ball, and the ball was the least interesting part of the entire episode. So good stuff. I'm finally got my danger in the episode.
Yep.
This feels like it might be one of the last good episodes of the show. I hope I'm wrong.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give this an
Definitely
A
wrong.
minus.
Okay.
Not perfect,
An
but
A
it's a
minus.
classic.
All right. I don't hate it. Sarah, what do you grade the episode?
I mean, this like you were saying, this is kind of like peak Gossip Girl, and it kind of harkens back to those earlier episodes that brought you in. And this,
Mm-hmm.
I remember just being obsessed with this. I think I'm gonna give it an A, not an A plus, because there are still a few twists and turns to come, and also the whole like season 2 of Chuck and Blair doing their whole thing. That's like
Sure.
tense.
Uh,
So A.
All right. I'm
Hey.
glad that everyone's so high on this episode because I thought maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I was still in that season 5 bubble. I was given the season 5 curve, maybe, but I thought the episode was another good one and even better than last week's, which I gave an A minus. So, like,
Wow.
I think all the storylines work somehow. They did a great job intersecting them with each other for the first time in a while. Like, we obviously have everything going on with Blair and Chuck, and it looks like that's finally going somewhere. And then also the Charlie storyline intersects by having Charlie be the one to calling the tip to Gossip Girl. You know, Nate and the Spectator storyline intersects by, you know, Nate being the one to leave the party with Chuck and Blair, and then he sees the car crash. And then, you know, Dan and Serena have their own thing going on, and they keep intervening with Blair and Chuck. And so Serena in a negative, selfish way, and then Dan, of course, in the positive, selfless, great way that only Dan Humphrey could be capable of. So all of it worked, and it was fun to watch. And the episode had plenty of drama and emotion. You know, Blair and Chuck scenes, Blair and Dan scenes, Lily and Chuck scenes. We love it all. And then, you know, some setup for after the winter break with Dan and Serena teaming up with Nate and the Spectator to take down Gossip Girl. Plenty of twists and cliffhangers. The mystery and intrigue of whatever the hell happened with the car crash. Is Chuck going to be okay? What's going on with Diana Payne and Jack Bass, and how do they play into this? So again, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe this is the last time I ever do this, but I'm going to give this episode an A as well. So.
Wow.
2 A's and an A minus. Very, very good grades here.
I'm glad I kept it out of the Golden Grade Club because it
Golden
doesn't
Grade
deserve to
Club.
be with the rest of the triple A's to
The
me.
Pantheon. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brendan, who's your MVP of the episode?
My MVP, you might not be surprised. This is kind of a tough one because there's we have a lot of episodes lately where there's nobody doing anything good. This is an episode where there's a lot of good characters in this episode, but someone stood out for me. They weren't by any means a main character in this episode, but she's always a main character to me. It's my girl Lily. I had a great moment with my boy Chuck.
course.
Those scenes I'm such a sucker for those scenes. She also gives one of her classic backhanded compliments to Ivy or Charlie later on, and she looks great all episode long. If there's an episode where Lily's in it and she has maybe a couple, like maybe 2 scenes, that's all I really need.
I knew you were going to say Lily. I
Yeah,
don't
she
even
had
know why
a
I
great
asked.
episode.
Sarah, who's your MVP?
Can you predict who I'm gonna pick? If you could predict his?
No. I announce my prediction afterwards and say that I knew it all along, like Rufus.
I mean, it is for me. It's always Blair. It's always Blair. But I
Okay.
will say, Chuck, Therapy Chuck is one of my favorites. When he is,
Oh, yeah.
everyone's just expecting
Yeah.
him to be bad, and he doesn't, and he's just so calm about it. I'm like,
He's been sticking with it
but
too.
like,
We
Chuck,
love a reformed
but
bad
Blair-
boy.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I will be the one to give Dan his MVP. He's in
I
love
was
with
gonna
Blair.
say that.
He's
I was like,
in
I
love
knew
with
you were gonna say
Blair. Who
Dan.
can blame him for being in love with Blair? But he
Ugh.
does set up
Being
this
fair.
elaborate getaway for Blair and Chuck. He selflessly gives up his chance at Blair. He does the right thing. He lets Blair and Chuck try to have their fairy tale ending, and I think that's nice. So I will give Dan his MVP.
But does he unconditionally love Blair like Lily does Chuck? I don't think so.
Well, listen,
No.
I considered Lily,
Unconditional.
but I knew you would give Lily the MVP, so I didn't have to give Lily one.
Good.
And then who's your LVP of the
Yeah.
episode?
Max, he's useless. Waste of space. Get him out of here.
Oh, so
bad
fair.
man. Steve.
All right, Max with an LVP. Sarah, who's your LVP?
Rufus.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for. I
Sorry.
think it's fair. He's been, like we've been saying, he's been on a good streak of just being kind of floating around, only in the in the Pentagon. I hope he's not floating around the
Yeah,
Pentagon.
only the Pentagon.
Yeah,
Even
bad
on a
episode
good
for him.
streak, he's on a bad streak.
Yeah, that's
for
all
me.
right.
Yeah.
No, this is a bad one for him.
When the caliber's low.
Yeah. Well, for me, on the flip side of Dan getting the MVP, Serena will get my LVP. The episode pretty clearly tells us Dan, good. Serena, bad.
She
And I
says it
respect
herself,
that.
yeah.
So, Yeah, Serena is literally the one in this episode shown being selfish, and she's gonna get my LVP. She's her typical self. Everyone's trying to help Blair and Chuck get together. She's the one trying to get her together with Louie. If you're teaming up with Louie, you got to know that you're in the wrong here. And so she's also reading her about her high school self on Gossip Girl like a loser. That's how you know you're not in a good spot. So she's my LVP. That's our LVPs, and that's our segments, except of course for everyone's favorite segment, Lonely Boys Theater. And we will be doing the very dramatic scene at the end where Serena and Dan team up with Nate to try and take down Gossip Girl in the future. Sarah, you're our guest. Who would you like to portray, Dan, Serena, or Nate?
How about my favorite character, Dan?
Ooh.
Okay, great. And then do you want to be your girl, Serena?
I mean,
or
as you just
do
you called her out and talked about how shitty she was. I guess I'll be Serena.
Okay, and I will be Nate and his one line at the end, so I'll gear up for that.
Gear up. You know the voice you have to do when you have one line.
And I don't. Does everyone have their script in front of them?
I sure do.
Sure do.
All right, so Serena, get ready. You can start us off.
This is all Gossip Girl's fault. If she hadn't sent out that blast.
Well, I'm not trying to defend her, but it's not like Gossip Girl hopped on a motorcycle and chased Chuck and Blair through the streets of Manhattan. Oh, I'm Dan.
Well, she may as well have. If Gossip Girl didn't exist, Chuck and Blair would not be in the hospital right now, fighting for their lives. You know, I spent the whole morning looking at old blasts, and it's unbelievable the amount of pain she's caused. This is just the culmination of years of damage. Diana Pain she's caused.
All right, so what do you want to do? I'm Dan.
Well, I want to finish off Diana. I want to finish what Diana started. I want to take Gossip Girl down for good.
Hey guys, I don't know why we're all talking like this, but I like it, so I'm going to do it too. I'm with you guys. I think we should use my newspaper, The Spectator, that I created without any help from my grandfather. I think we should use The Spectator to do it, all right?
I also want to finish off Diana. It was fun when I used to do that.
Yeah, whatever happened to Diana? I miss her.
And that's what 4 classes at the UCB gets you.
Collectively, between the three of us, we have had 4.
25% off your first 4 classes at UCB Theater.
Come on now, they would never give a discount. That's where we know you're lying.
And the New York UCB has changed locations to the crematorium in Lindenhurst.
Yeah.
UCB and the C stands for crematorium. The United Crematorium of Brendan.
It's
Works for
a boy
That
crematorium.
So that does it for the segments. That does it for everything except, of course, for some plugs. But before we get to that, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on, for being the car crash mid-season finale expert. Whenever there's a crash, we know that we need to come to Sarah Gahr Crash.
That's
right. Is there anything you would like to plug at this hour?
Oh, man. No.
Nah.
You can follow me on Instagram
got me with that one.
Sarah Gahr. There's no crash at the end.
I love taking a big gulp of Diet Dr. Pepper just for the guest to say no.
Nah.
No.
I'm good.
I would like to also promote Money Paws Rescue in New York, because that is where we got producer Beebop. So Money Paws
Yay.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice plug for producer Beebop.
You can take another sip of Diet Coke.
That's I wish, but unfortunately I have to ask Brendan. What are you plugging?
I'm going to continue. Oh.
Why would you do that?
Hold on. Let me take some water.
Why would you? Brendan literally waited.
It's fun to know when you do it now, so I can wait.
And then waited, said nothing, then started to talk. So then I took a sip, and then he stopped.
I gotcha. My famous Patreon plug only era. It's been working. It's working really well. We are now up to. So there's one caveat for this. We do have 5 new subscribers within the plugging Patreon era. This was all proceeds go towards the Kelly Rutherford Fund to get her to send us a cameo. But the newest member, TJ Kelly, was an old member that had frozen his account and just recently updated it so he was a paid member. I will count it. I will allow it. So this is a 5th member that counts towards the out of 20 that we need.
We are 1/4 of the. We're 25%
1/4 of the way. So
the way
TJ,
there.
thank you, and you're lucky. You're lucky this counts. I'm looking at you. So I mentioned TJ, and Carly Licious 83 is another member that just joined the club. So thank you to Carly Licious and TJ.
Well, thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Will
It's
not
going to a
regret
great
it.
cause. It's not as good of a cause as whatever fund Bebop came from. But it's probably second best.
Whatever shithole he dragged himself out of.
Yeah. So that's my only plug. You can find this particular Patreon at patreon.com/thehappyboyspod, where we have now officially covered all of season 1 of the OC. So go check that out. $3 gets you an entire season of coverage. Check it out.
Our next one is going to be the season 1 recap. Very excited for that.
Very exciting.
Yeah, hasn't been on a podcast besides this one in forever. So I did see Anyone But You in theaters today, though, and that was me and my kindergarten teacher. Actually, I don't think she saw the same movie as me. But Anyone But You is great. Rom-coms are back. We love it.
Love it.
So everyone
Good.
should get out and see that. Yeah, you should see it. It's great. I
Heard
mean,
it's
it's everything you want from a rom-com.
Nice.
Good. I want rom-com.
I want rom-com.
If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. I wanted rom-com, and I wanted popcorn and cherry Coke, and I got all 3 of those.
That's the spirit.
Successful day at the movies for me. Besides that, you can follow me on Twitter at MattyFresh24. You can follow Brendan at Ruppy Puppy. You can follow his other podcast, The Hoppy Boys, at The Hoppy Boys Pod. And you can come back next week where we will be breaking down Gossip Girl Season 5, Episode 11. The end of the affair, question mark? But until then, you know you love us. XOXO.
Lonely boys. Bye-bye.
Wow.